kidnapped on that road, people are killed. I mean, if people are still tied to their positions as security heads, what it means, therefore, is that what the National Assembly told us may be correct, that security in Nigeria has become a cash cow business. Insecurity in Nigeria that is plotted, harvested, and then people are making a mincemeat of the nation from it. Look at the budget that has gone into security since this dispensation in the last 7 years. You will see a progression towards, of course, the current expenditure. Nobody is talking about what has been budgeted, where has it gone into, and what has been the response towards those budgets. If we budgeted for Toscana aircrafts, nobody is asking, have they been purchased? Who is responsible for what? What kind of arms and tactics have these security heads changed? And that is why I personally accept the views of the religious leaders that the leadership of the various security heads need to give space for people who have a new sense of ingenuity to take over.
Okay. All right. Interesting. We've been having these, and I'll go back to Joseph Hayab. We've been having these statements in the past, especially before elections. I mean, we've seen things like the National Peace Council. We've seen things like, politicians, leading politicians and candidates of the leading parties coming together to sign peace pacts in the past. And we still have violent elections. Now, we're just not talking about violence during elections. We're talking about the state of the nation and insecurity that may threaten the 2023 elections. But nothing changed in the past. So what can you say, Joseph Hayab, to convince me and the rest of our viewers that the statements of these elder statesmen, religious leaders will go far or hold any water?
I think we must give credit to the efforts that have been put together in the previous or in the last two elections. Nigerians will agree with me that in 2015, this Nigerian Peace Committee, whatever they call themselves, did a good job by engaging all the political actors at that time. And somehow Jonathan became the hero by showing leadership and conceding to defeat. And in 2019, they also did a lot of effort. I'm not sure we actually have records that during those elections, people were killed, as I'm hearing from you. What we do have record is that there is insecurity in the country. Not that it happened. So the insecurity in the country have grown to the extent that we are now scared that we may not even do the election. And so these leaders are calling and appealing that government should wake up and ensure that the country is safe, because we must have a country before we vote for someone to lead us. If we don't have a country, if we vote for you, who are you going to lead? Are you going to lead just your family? So I think this also, because let's not confuse the whole conversation into as if there has been total failure.
But Joseph Hayab, what I'm saying is we've had these statements in the past, during elections, before elections, and I can give you examples of states across the country where violence, electoral violence was recorded, even pre-election violence was recorded, or election-related violence was recorded. We had religious leaders, and elder statesmen like we're having now visit some of these states. And the leading candidates were made to sign peace pacts. They came out, they even cut cakes and stuff. But people still died. There's still armed thugs who went out and scouted the elections, and they killed themselves. Also, who used, security agencies who used them. So, I mean, all this stuff.
Of the peace committee or the religious leaders.
Yeah.
We understand the kind of political class we have in Nigeria. People who have no ideology, people who have no agenda, people who just want to rule us by force, people who want to become leaders whether people like it or not. Unfortunately, they are taking advantage of the poverty in the country. They are taking advantage of the low education among many young people and giving them drugs and giving them money to go and burn and destroy homes just because they want to win election. And that's why we feel strongly that there has been a shift, because in the past, they do those things because they will use it to rig election or use it to manipulate election people. And we are just believing that somehow we are making progress with the signing of the new Electoral Act. But that's not enough. We are talking about the country in general, not just about election. There is no peace in the East. There is no peace in the West. There is no peace in the North. Every day people are dying. Every day numbers are being thrown out there telling you that so number. Like yesterday in Plateau State, 80 people killed. This is terrible. And in Kaduna State, it's like an everyday business. You hear the one you hear, and many have been just kept. People just mourn in their home without necessarily complaining. So what we are saying today is that, look, there's a growing insecurity in the country, that even the relative understanding we used to have during election time may not be possible come 2023. Can we start doing something at this moment? Can we take steps that will stop and bring about sanity, so that when we come, people can come out to vote? But when we don't do that, people may likely not come out to vote, because people must be alive before they vote.
All right, interesting, Joseph Hyab. Charles Otu, I don't know which of the religions you belong to, whether you're an atheist. I mean, that's your prerogative. But I do assume you've sat in an occasion. I'm assuming you've sat in an occasion where you've had VIPs, for instance, governors or ministers, and you've had maybe a clergyman, either an imam, a sheikh, or some sort of a priest. Are these religious leaders part of the problem? Why wait till some months before the election for things to get to this crescendo of insecurity before say these things? For instance, we talk about the volatile parts of the north of the country, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Mr. Charles Otu. The northern part of the country, northeast, east, northwest, and north central, predominantly Muslim. Another volatile part of the country, southeast, predominantly Christian. You have Catholics, Anglicans, and then, of course, the Pentecostal churches. Have our religious leaders spoken truth to power enough?
Well, thank you so much. It does appear like we're echoing what, of course, I'm a Christian, and I'm happy this conversation is coming. I'm now coming across religious groups or divides. It is no longer, some people trying to say, oh, that, or pretend or sit on the fence about it. It re-echoes what a clergyman in the eastern part of Nigeria said, that most times what pastors and other religious heads, including reverend fathers, do in the country, just like the imams, it's at best awful. Sometimes you see them, they just want to sit on the fence and build in the good book of the present government of the day, without knowing that their duty actually as religious leaders, because these governors, these senators, the lawmakers, and all sorts of people that are in politics come to them to pay obeisance. And that is actually an opportunity to speak truth to power. Even in the faith I practice, which is Christianity, you see people in the days of the old, in the biblical examples, wherein leaders got to church and they were told, this is how you should act. And that has been lacking sincerely among our religious leaders on both divides, both Christians, both the Muslims and the traditionalists, and of course, all manner of religions. We've seen people get to power and they are just, the church is the only interested in the politician completing a building project for the church. And the church is shut off for that same reason. I will cite an example in my state of Ebonyi, for instance. In Ebonyi, you will find out that the CAN chairman is a member of the State Executive Council. Not just a member of the State Executive Council, he is even the closest person to the governor of my state, David Omar. And you still find out that, look, this man, if he had been advised rightly, he shouldn't be taking certain actions, which means the priest is there. Another priest, for instance, who is a Catholic priest, Reverend Timothy Nguta, is detained or remanded in prison. And the same Catholic priest, who is a member of the ESCO, is not talking about or doing so much to cause about that can lead to his release from prison. What are the issues? The church depends largely on these political demagogues or these politicians to survive. And because of it, they have taken away the power to speak truth to power to them, from them. And once that is taken away, as has been the case in the last 7 years, you see things going as awful and ugly as it has gone, and you see the church only lamenting and complaining. Same goes to the Islamic religion. Of course, you heard about the sheikh in Abuja that was suspended. What was his crime? That he said, look, this is security has gotten out of hand. People have to sit up to their responsibilities and take charge. and the imam was suspended. From suspension, he was sacked. So you see, it cuts across religious divides. But if the leaders continue to hear these truths from religious leaders, not just when election is coming, they come to bring them together to sign peace cards and talk about how it is affecting how it's going to affect the election. What we are giving is just a statutory arrangement that makes it readily make people think, okay, all these preparations is towards the election. So if you have an election, what comes before, what comes thereafter, after an election? So that has made it difficult. The church and the Islamic leaders, the church leaders and the Islamic leaders alike, have not held the government reasonably accountable because they have the pulpit. None of the leaders walk away from the church. None of the leaders walk away from the mosque, being told the truth.
Okay.
The highest that could happen, what happened, they can be slammed with suspension. But if it becomes a norm that you cannot have a safe haven, if you enter this church, you're going to hear the same truth. If you enter this mosque, you're going to hear the same truth. You have no option that you begin to think about how to redress your,
Okay. Charles, so too interesting. I'll come back to you, Joseph High, about the Christian Association of Nigeria. You've said him. I've asked him a question. Are our religious leaders speaking truth to power? He says point blank, no. What do you think about this? Because all these politicians, they attend church or they go to the mosque for their prayers. They get laid hands, they receive laying of hands. Some receive prophecies and anointing. And I've said it before that never before, especially from the last administration into this one, before in the history of Nigeria, has the church or the religious circles, maybe even the mosque or Islam, had as much influence in the polity. It's never been as much as it is in these days across the country. We can go back to liberation theology as propounded by the famous Peruvian theologian of the Dominican, a priest of the Dominican order, Gustavo Gutierrez, and we saw what he did for the people and how he spoke truth to power. So what do you say to Charles Otu's remark that our religious leaders have not spoken truth to power? It's a pretty long question, but I hope I was able to pass.
Well, I think the recent development should have changed his thinking, but that's the truth. The truth is that we've not had enough religious leaders speaking truth to power. We must own up to that. Because when you have a large part of religious leaders and you just have probably 10 or 20 speaking truth to power, it's not enough. Some of us who do come out in this station, that I've always been here. I think this is the first time in the past 6 months that I'm even smiling. Every time I come on this media, I am frowning, I'm angry because I've lost a loved one, things are not going in right, Kaduna is on fire. But you see, just one voice speaking every day, those in power will just tag you as an enemy or give you some names. So I quite agree with him that we've not really been doing enough. Many of my colleagues should wake up, because if you allow just one person, let's start example, when the imam came out and speak what was true, many clerics are agreeing that what he said is true, but how many of them have come publicly to agree? Even if they say they agree with him, they're just saying that behind the scene. Why? They don't want to come publicly and say we agree with him because they are thinking they are going to lose their friendship with those politicians. But what that man have done is to set the pace, and more clerics supposed to come out in support and condemnation of evil. Because how on earth will you be asking for election? Well, we have almost a large number of people in the hands of the bandits. The bandits are even threatening the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, are saying that, look, you know what we want. We're not asking you for money. Do what we want. Who are they? Our government should be strong enough to show them the might of government. But because nothing is really happening. So if you ask me to put the answer very simple, not many clerics have actually been speaking truth to power.
Okay.
But there are clerics who are speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
They have been called names. They've either been tagged as supporting a particular political interest. I want to encourage those few clerics that don't give up, continue to speak truth to power. I don't want to beat my chest and say whether I'm one, but those who have been following me can tell.
Yes,
whether I am
we know about that, especially those of
but
you.
The truth is that not enough. About 2 weeks ago, I watched something that was quite disturbing. On one of the national television stations, clerics, Christian pastors, people who dress, to be honest, to be candid with our viewers here, that sometimes people who go to the market and buy certain regalia and dress and call themselves bishop, and they were binding and losing and claiming that some people are supposed to be president. The fact that they are even saying that those people are gift to Nigeria. As a Nigerian, I know the history behind those people. I can't even understand you calling them gift to Nigeria. Well, they've not been able to do anything in the state where they are governing, or they've not been able to do anything where they are operating. But you see, this is the kind of system. But here is the crux of the matter.
Okay.
There is so much hunger in the land.
Yeah.
So people now hide under religion, wanting to get food. That's why they cannot speak truth to power. So I quite agree with my brother Charles that not many religious leaders have been speaking truth to power. But this effort by the Sultan and the current president must be commended, because at least now the leaders are speaking. So others should follow, so that the voice will be added. And when more people begin to speak, then those who think that they will not be wholly responsible know that we have woken up from our slumber.
All right, I want to thank you, and for the good work you're doing, and you've been vocal. Before we round up, Joseph Hayab, apart from speaking truth to power, we know the genesis of these conflicts in the country. I do not know if we'll be talking about this banditry if Boko Haram had not started like a joke that was treated with kids' gloves in the time of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo when their leader was killed. But these guys profess to be followers of Islam, and I do not know if it's impossible for the Islamic clerics led by the Sultan, with all respect to him, to have along the line interface to make sure, see what they can do. We go down to the southern part of the country, and we know what is happening in the southeast. Of course, we have the Biafran agitation, but we know how devout people from that part of the country are, to the Christian faith. Would it not have been possible for the leaders of the Christian faith and the Jewish faith in Nigeria to interface with the proponents and those who started these agitations? Because whether the gunmen are known or unknown, it would not have been this way or this bad if that agitation had not gone the way it did. So I don't know what you have to say about that in just a sentence or two.
Yeah, the truth about it is that it may not be in the public domain. It may not be in the public domain, but I'm fully aware of efforts by certain bishops, because they've not asked me to mention their names. I've known about series of meetings that they've been holding with the Biafra youth groups that have been agitating.
This year, last year.
The fact about it that they even visited Kanu in prison.
Well, maybe it's become too late. When this thing started, some people were promoting it and defending it and encouraging, cheering on.
The agitation in the southeast was wrongly managed by government. When government supposed to initiate dialogue, government thought that she could just crush them. Let's be honest to ourselves. You see, that's why one of the famous outspoken senator of Nigeria, former senator, said that when it comes to bandits of northern Nigeria, they are being treated with kid gloves. When others act the same way, then they use big sticks and start pursuing them.
Right.
Let's call a spade a spade. The problem in this is the poor approach to these people. But if you think that religious leaders have not spoken to them, they are speaking to them. And that's exactly one of the things that Gumi went out to do from my conversation with him. The only place I disagree with him was when he started coming publicly on media and was changing who they are to calling them another title. That was when but I realized that he may have done that, I'm sorry, with due respect to him, out of fear, because they did admit that when they approached them, the people were violence against them. They even quoted all the various interviews they've ever said on television.
We have to go.
And they were coming against them. So they begin to speak nicely and mildly to win the support of the bandit. But there are efforts going on. It may not be in the public media because of certain reasons, but honestly speaking, I know there are efforts going on.
Thank you very much. Charles Otu, I was going to come to you, but I've been informed that we're out of time. So I want to thank both of you for your interesting contributions. Sincerely appreciate it. Joseph Hayab is a chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria in Kaduna State, and Charles Otu is a political analyst. They've given us an interesting analysis of the issues at hand. Gentlemen, thanks for your time.
Thank you
so much. Thank you for having us.
Then thanks for staying with us. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll discuss the possibilities of zoning in the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State, of course, and what's happening ahead of the 2023 governorship elections there. Stay with us.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria. welcome to Plus Trending. I am Vicky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Welcome back. Governorship aspirants on the platform of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State have signed a peace accord agreeing to support any one of them that emerges as the party's governorship flag bearer. The aspirants in a communique issued at the end of their meeting in Port Hackett, the Rivers State capital, on Monday, said they have resolved to collapse their political structures in favor of any one of them that secures the party's governorship ticket. They also resolved to zone the seat of the governorship to the Riverine Ijaw area of the state. And joining us to discuss this is a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State, Honorable Golden Chioma. Good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening.
All right. As a member of the party, the All Progressives Congress, and a chieftain of that party, what's your reaction to the news that the aspirants for the position of flag bearer or governor on the platform of your party have zoned the governorship ticket to the Riverine Ijaw on their own?
It was not zoned by anybody. The party has not zoned the office. And the last time the office was zoned was in 2014, and it was zoned to the River Southeast. And it has not changed at this time. So what I'm aware of is that the senatorial zone, the River Southeast, is supposed to produce the governor. In that same senatorial zone, we have the Ijaw elements also. And we have the Ogonids. So that senatorial zone should produce. And that is the zoning I'm aware of. That was done in 2014. And since then, no governor have come from that zone since 1999.
That's talking about Rivers Southeast?
Yes.
Okay. But are you not aware of the meeting by these governorship aspirants? And the statement was signed by Dawari George.
Yes, I'm aware of it because it's also in the media, in the news. But let me explain to you. What you saw was an amalgamation of people who are scared of Senator Magnus Abe, who is supposed to come from the River Southeast. Because of his candidature, the benefactor of all those you saw single-handedly did say that he was zoning it unilaterally without consultation with anybody, that it will go to the riverine, which means now that all parts of the state, including the senatorial zones that have produced governors before, are up for it, leaving an entire senatorial zone that have not produced the governor. For me, it will not hold water. But they have the right to so claim, to so agree that if any of them becomes the candidate, that they would collapse their structures. But I doubt the structures they have. Apart from one or two of them, the rest do not have any structure.
So we're looking at, you're saying it's based, are you saying the zoning formula, even if it's unwritten in River State, is based on a senatorial district arrangement? Or, because
Yes.
I know the upline riverine arrangement, some call it dichotomy in River State, having worked there for and lived there for 10 years. Should it not be an upline riverine thing?
Yes, Kofi, the state right now, the issue of riverine and upland is no longer tenable. There is virtually no part of River State that car cannot get to. Prior to now, we used to say that the riverine people have to go to Waterside before you have to get to Bonny Waterside for you to get to Bonny. Now, as I speak with you now, the road leading to Bonny is 95% completed. Cars get to Abonima and Bukuma. Cars get to Opopo. So there's no longer the issue of riverine and upland dichotomy. We are all rivers people. If we want to say that ethnicity should be the bane of distribution of offices, then we'll know about that. We'll go to that. In 1999, it went to the other senatorial zone, where the Calabaris belong to. In 2007, it came to my senatorial zone, where the Okrikas belong to. And the Minister of Transportation went. Now it's supposed to go to the other senatorial zone, the River Southeast. And let me explain to you, in 2014, when it was properly zoned to the River Southeast, it was between two candidates, Senator Magnus Abe and Right Honorable Dakuku Bitasai. Both of them qualified because they come from that senatorial zone. And it was between both of them. But just because of the fact that Senator Magnus has gone forward to tell the whole world that he's competent and capable for the office, which they are all aware of. The reason why they are trying to micro-zone it to the Ijaw stock is only to deny a competent, capable individual from aspiring for the office. That's the only thing.
But is Senator Magnus Abe, does he even have an aspiration to be the next governor of Rivers State, to vie for the position of governor on the platform of the APC? Because when I checked, his name was not on the attendance register of that meeting.
Yes. Just as I said, the meeting was called by the other faction of the All Progressive Congress in Rivers State. And if you also look at the people that signed that list, they all share the same benefactor, the Right Honorable Chibuike Rotimi Amaechi. And what they have espoused in that letter is to say that they are loyal and subservient to their benefactor. And that I give to them.
Okay.
And I'm very aware that Senator Magnus Abe is a man aspiring to lead Rivers State on his own accord based on his competence.
So if he aspires to lead River State, will it be fair, because of course we know that there's been some sort of division in the party, will it be fair to say that all those who are aspiring, the likes of Tonye Cole, the likes of Dakuku Peterside, the likes of Dawari George, the likes of the former chairman of the APC in River State and former chairman of our territorial local government area, Enko, will it be fair to say that they are, loyal to Rotimi Amaechi when in times past we know that the APC in River State would have had one candidate, one person, and all of them that's a consensus candidate. You rightly said in 2015, it was Dakuku Adol Peterside. In 2019, it was Tonye Ko. This time around, we're seeing that as many as 10 of them have come out. So doesn't that show that there is some sort of freedom and that not one person is being dictated to or pushed forward, rather, as the consensus candidate?
I'm of the opinion that all those you saw, or those who signed that paper, derive their powers from Right Honorable Chibukuru Amici. I don't think, except one or two of them, that has the zeal and capacity to claim to wanting to contest on his own accord. Apart from that, the rest of them are hinging on the wings or the aprons of the minister. And I'm saying that we have passed that level. In the state, we are an opposition party. We need a credible and competent candidate to face the party in the state. It is no longer party, it's no longer the issue where somebody will say that I've anointed one person. We want people to aspire. We want people to show their capacity to taking up the mantle of leadership. I wish them well in their endeavors, but I'm only saying that what you have seen there is a conglomeration of those loyal to the minister. But I also want to disagree with you. In 2019, it was not Toye Cole, because the APC was also not on the ballot. But the APC had two parallel congresses. One produced Senator Magnus Abbey, the direct primaries, and the other one, the indirect one, produced Toye Cole. Unfortunately, the court decided otherwise, and we didn't have a candidate. But for you to say that in 2019, no, the party was not on the ballot in 2019.
I wouldn't want us to go into that because I think that is what under the bridge now. But I just want to go through the names of those who were at that meeting. And I was actually George Tolofari I was trying to refer to. But the names there include Prince Toye Prinzel, who you know very well, Dr. Dakuku Peterside, that's number 2. Dr. Dawari George, number 3. Architect Toye Cole, whom you've just talked about, number 4. Engineer Biopo Mabo Awara, number 5. You have Honorable Ojuka Eflaga Makri, number 6. Honorable Mina Tenda, that's number 7. You have Honorable Ibinabo Michael West, number 8. Sokonte Davis, and then, of course, the final one is Chief Francis Ada. So if these are the candidates of the All Progressives Congress or the aspirants, why wasn't Magnus Abbey at that meeting? Bearing in mind we have one chairman of the APC, we have one APC now in River State united under one chairman. Hello.
Kofi?
Yes.
Yes, Kofi, you're making statements. I wouldn't want to join issues with you. I felt to have allowed those controversial aspects outside this interview. But let me tell you one or two things. Senator Magnus Abbey, I'm not speaking for him anyway, maybe he wasn't invited. 2, he is not a protege of the Minister for Transportation. Just as I've said, all those there draw their influence or their support from the minister. Now, from the names you read out there, you will find out that there's a common denominator. They will claim to come from the INC part of River State. That I give to them. But the election we're talking about will not be decided by the INC part of River State alone. So it comes to the fact that we have senatorial zones already, which could be referred to as administrative conveniences. And let me explain to you, all aspects or all parts of the senatorial zone of River State have riverine elements, if we want to go to that. So this zone we're talking about is the Rivers East that have not produced the governor.
Okay.
And that is where the governor should come from. Anybody from that senatorial zone is qualified by me.
All right. All right. But how about the fact that you've had, if you go back to, you've talked about senatorial zoning, but if you go back to the upland riverine zoning, yes, I know you said, you can now drive a car to Opobo. but we all know that Opobo is still a so-called upline, or the Ijaw Rivers, if you want to call it that. We're talking about places like over 10 local government areas, Andoni local government area, Opobo Nkoro local government area, Boni local government area, Okrika local government area, Ogubolo local government area. You know, we have Asaritoro, Degema, Akukutoru, and Abuadual. Even Port Harcourt South is what they call it. We've had people from the so-called upland parts of River State in power for, this will be 16 years, Honorable Chairman. This will be 16 years. So would it be fair to allow a so-called...
20 years.
20 years, okay. Would it be
Yes.
Would it be fair to allow a so-called maybe senatorial zoning where possibly an upland person will still become governor?
Yes.
In a state where the Ijaw Rivers people control, like you said, INC, Ijaw National Congress, control about 10, not less than 10 local government areas.
Kofi, politics is all about numbers. Let us not reduce this thing to issue of ethnicity. I come from a Che local government area. And in the last 21 years, if I'm not mistaken, my ethnic group has not gone to the Senate. What we are talking about here has to do with the governor of River State. Everybody is eminently qualified, irrespective of your ethnic grouping. In 1999, Ebenezer Ezekere lost the governorship with whiskers. He would have been the governor of River State. It has nothing to do where you come from. Let's be fair to ourselves. Ebenezer Ezekere would have been the governor in 1999. Dr. Odile, who became the governor in 1999, was from a minute ethnic group, if we want to put it that way. He's a minority in a local government, which is Anaga. His ethnicity or his ethnic group is a minority in that local government. But he became the governor in 1999. It has nothing to do with your local government. It has nothing to do with your population spread. In 1999, Senator Hussein lost in the political intrigues to Dr. Odile. What I'm trying to explain to you, Kofi, we should not reduce our governorship position to ethnic space. No, I don't agree with anybody.
Okay. All right. Even the fact, Honorable Chairman, even the fact that the People's Democratic Party has names like the current secretary to the state government, has names like current special assistant to the governor on projects, Dax George Kelly, and so on and so forth. These are the names being peddled. It seems the PDP might be tending towards a riverine Ijaw person, candidate. Should that not even be an indication of this?
Yeah, Kofi, let me explain to you. I'm not a member of the People's Democratic Party, but I'm very aware that the PDP is waiting for who clinches the ticket in APC. I can tell you authoritatively, if the APC makes a decision to give it to the Ikwere stock, PDP will be running down to get an Ikwere candidate. River State is an APC state. We mishandled our opportunities in 2014 and 2019 not to be in charge of the state. As I speak with you, all the names you have mentioned in the PDP are because of the fact that they are of the opinion that because of the position of the Honorable the Minister for Transportation, that the party may be looking towards that angle. So they are also going there. But I do not want to join issues with them. I wish them well.
Okay.
But right. I want to tell you that the party, APC, will do the right thing right at this point because we need to be in government in 2023.
All right.
We can't afford to be out of government for another 8 years.
Okay, but you're confirming that the APC now in River State is together united under one chairman and one leadership.
You're raising issues I also do not want to answer, but let me answer you because you have brought it up for the second time. The party at the national have recognized a faction, and that we must all agree. They have recognized my friend on the other side as the chairman. That does not mean we do not exist. We are still a faction. We still maintain our faction. we still strive to making sure that the party comes
Honorable Chairman,
together.
who is your chairman as a member of the APC in River State?
You're a member of the press, and you have the opportunity to investigate who was recognized.
All right. Thank you very much. Golden Shoma, former member of the River State House of Assembly, former chairman of a faction of the APC in River State. He's been our guest tonight. Thank you for your time, sir, and see you sometime soon.
Thank you very much.
And that's the size of our package right here on Plus Politics. We return tomorrow, but thank you for staying with us. I'm Kofi Bartels. Enjoy the rest of our programming.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
He suffered equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am. If you no talk, dem go beat you. Na 2,500 I dey pay.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on PlusTvAfrica, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thought and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
My name is Sonya Onoyoade. I reminisce my good old days with an uncommon nostalgia. For me, my days of yore were lived fully from humble beginning. Born in Bere and raised in Inolende, Ibadan, the commonality of our abode made it possible for everybody to know everybody else. So, communal parenting was prevalent, evoking the sentiment of the age-old adage that it takes a village to raise a child. So, bad behaviors could be punished by communal stakeholders other than the parents, such as neighbors, aunts, uncles, and sisters, all taking responsibility for the life and welfare of the children in the community. My parents hail from Modakeke, but raised all their children in Ibadan. My early beginning revolved around Inolende, where I spent my infancy, and which harbored Ebenezer Primary School that I attended. It was a life of school and football, kite flying and sand dunes molded from a foot stuck into the sandy ground. Okoto was a plaything, just like Agbalumo seed. My primary school lay parallel to Igboagala, which housed the iconic colonial-era Bowers Tower, a high-rise rotunda with spiral tiers set on a hill and which played host to visitors and tourists and could be seen from every nook of the ancient city. A saying dedicated to this tower against those not conversant with the complexity of the city is Ibadolomo or Molayipo, meaning that you only know Ibadan but not the Bowers Tower, which locals called Layipo due to its rotunda nature and because you have to climb up its zenith in a spiral stairs. Inolende was communal by every sense of it. Every naming ceremony or traditional wedding, freedom from apprenticeship or sundry events did not require formal invites. Such events were for the community and children were expected to attend, huddled together in a choreographed manner around large bowls of rice as a couple of gazing sheep and bleating goats waited in the wing to pounce on leftovers. Muslim and Christian festivals were actively celebrated by all irrespective of religious lineage. Ramadan was a time we looked forward to as children of Christian faith because we would wake up to eat sahari, and some evenings were filled with itinerant musicians who played were, a Fuji genre with Islamic lyrical underpinnings. Sikiru Ayinde, later called Barrister, was a regular team lead in the locality in those days. Will I forget the good old days of Egungun festivals when we followed Ololu or Alakpanshopa or Atikpako, all dreaded masquerades from Inolende to Bere and Makbo, sucking in their superlative acrobatic displays and guttural incantations. Young folks, especially those from humble background like me, found the serendipity of Ibadan around the 70s and the 80s. Odo Dandaru, a stream on the fringe of Mokola, was our swimming bay, and the elevator of Kingsway in Dugbe was our playground. Except for Cocoa House and a couple of high-rise buildings, the skyline was not dotted with skyscrapers, yet the serenity of Ibadan was profound and the security unimpeachable. Family values were strong in my good old days. During school holidays, we would follow our father to his farm in Idiya, a village settlement in the outskirts of Ibadan. Farms were not an attractive sector to kidnappers or armed robbers then. It was fun in the farm, making small fires to roast corn or yam or rabbit caught by midnight traps. In the twilights of the day, while going back to the village from the farm or sitting around the fireplace in the village hut, Father will regale us with stories of life, wisdom nuggets and politics of yore. It was in one such sitting I knew the plant called Akintola Taku, so named because of the political crisis of the 60s. At other times, we followed Mother to Dugbe Market, where she traded in stockfish. I went to Ibadan Polytechnic, Ogun State Polytechnic, and the University of Ibadan. And in my trajectory, educational value was in the quality. Handphones and other modern gadgets of pleasure were few, so there were less distractions. There was nobility of character among students and lecturers. Cultism, sex for marks, student prostitution, and absenteeism were only hush words, unlike now that those vices are threatening the survival of the academia. Our children need to know how we roll back in the days and begin to invent a more quality life. They deserve better today and brighter future, so that they can also have their own good old days in the fullness of time. I believe we need collective efforts to ensure that we make the difference in the lives of our youth now for a better tomorrow. That is why I am joining Sir Shemore Badijo in this patriotic drive. How about you? Won't you rather join us? Thank you.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Norma Efanga, and today I'm joined by my amazing co-anchors, Glory Ifoma, Alera Boyo, and Elsie Godwin. Hello, ladies.
Hi, everyone.
I'm feeling myself. Elsie, we're greening today.
We are greening. Elsie is looking like a mermaid with the, you know.
I'm telling you, like, this hair is off the hook.
I think I'm going to take it from you when we leave the show.
I love what you're wearing. I act like I didn't hear that. But I love what you're wearing.
How you doing, Ifoma? Thank you so much, Elsie.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
You're good.
Yeah,
we haven't seen you in a while, though.
Yeah.
How's work?
It's been hectic.
I can imagine.
We're pushing it.
The Lagos life.
Right. The Lagos life.
Madam Alexa, how have you been? You took some time off because you were not feeling well.
Yes, I wasn't feeling well.
I hope you're
last
strong
week.
now.
I am strong. I'm getting there. But I mean, I've missed the show. I always say that the show is like my zen, my reward for all the hard work. And I actually missed the show throughout last week. But I mean, I'm here. I miss you guys so much, and I don't want you to miss me so much too. So I'm back. But I'm taking care of my health as well. Yeah.
That's good.
Elsie, how's school going? Good. Obviously, school is going well.
Amazingly well.
Oh, Elsie went for her birthday. She went on vacation.
Yes, we haven't seen you since your birthday.
Still wish me happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy
I'm still receiving gifts.
Yes. I'm happy.
So
it was a good one, right?
I
don't need a PA to receive my gift.
You can receive it by yourself.
But yeah, I had to travel to just have a peaceful birthday. And I'm glad I did.
Aww.
I missed you guys, but I didn't miss you guys so
Too much.
No, I did not, because it was peaceful. And in fact, I have a lot to say, but I think we already
behind
have
the scenes.
Table full. No, regarding Nigeria, tourism, disappointment. But I enjoyed Kigali. I'll leave it there.
All right. My week was good. Thankful for the Easter break, even though it was still work for some of us, but we thank God. It was good. All right, so here's what we found as today's quote. If a child grows up in an environment infested with predators, he or she would have a hard time building healthy relationships in society their whole life. This from Abhijit Naskar. All right, so what do we think about this?
I think it's a deep one.
Yeah?
And I think it's right for the conversation we're having today.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So the Lagos state government has shut down Christian schools indefinitely amid allegations of rape. A 10-year-old pupil of the school was said to have been raped by her schoolmates during a trip to Dubai, United Arab Emirates, and released the sex tape online. The incident sparked outrage on social media, with many calling on the government to act. It's our ladies' night out, and Elsie Godwin, Alera Boyo, and Gloria Ifoma and I are analyzing the Chrisland School underage saga. And when we open our phone lines, we would love to hear what you have to say. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
You're still watching Ways. Now, every year, World Liver Day is celebrated on April the 19th. The day is observed to raise awareness about liver diseases across the world. The liver is the largest solid organ of the body that removes toxins from the body. The organ maintains healthy blood sugar levels, regulates blood clotting, and performs several other vital functions in the body. And it's an essential organ of the human body, present beneath the rib cage in the right upper abdomen. The liver produces bile that helps in digestion of fats and carrying essential wastes. The day is dedicated to helping people to be aware of taking care of their liver by adopting a healthy lifestyle and by avoiding oily and greasy foods. So happy World Liver Day, guys. Who loves greasy food here? Who is a victim or culprit?
What are the
anything you have to fry or that has a lot of oil?
Yeah.
You have to just watch your
A lot of the fries and maybe the fast foods that have a lot of oil.
But the good thing now is that you can use air fryers, so healthier, you know.
But really, does it make a difference?
You're not going to put it in oil.
Okay, but at least the oils are less.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like a roasting boli.
So we have very healthy, like they say, healthy.
Yes, I actually like to advocate for it because, I mean, we take a lot of nonsense. I mean,
we do.
Food, what we drink. So the best thing you can actually do for your health is to ensure that once in a while, you detoxify. You take maybe lemon in water every day. That really helps to cleanse your liver. So that's like a very quick way.
Now you're talking.
Nice tip.
Not telling me not to
eat.
I'm talking.
Mentioning fried plantain because I know we have to do all of that, but I mean fried plantain.
So we'll just do the
lemon.
Like
after we're done, start detoxifying.
All right, ladies.
Thank you so much.
So who will I start with first? All right, Glory, let me start with you since we haven't seen you in a while. So what did you find in the news for us today?
Oh, very interesting. A Nigerian man has called a live band to perform in front of a commercial bank. He said the bank debited him wrongly and refused to refund. It was as if he paid the musicians to call the bank names because they did just that. The video showed them singing with all musical instruments, including strong loudspeakers facing the bank. Oh, wow. So apparently people are taking this to the next level.
Somebody was going to take that story.
It's now going to the next level.
And what the real story is, whoever wrote that thing, they didn't read well. The guy is actually a musician, so it's his band. He didn't have to pay extra.
Okay.
And he had to, let's not try to call the banks. It was fun.
Oh my goodness.
I'm interested. The guy is a savage.
I don't know why banks keep doing this and CBN is not doing anything about it, because it's not just this bank in question. You see,
absolutely. There's been a lot of comments.
A lot of banks were mentioned, people are going
had
through this every
terrible
time.
experiences with banking.
Debit people, you call it different charges. It doesn't. You can't even calculate.
I call it broad daylight
They'll tell you
fraud.
If you have 50,000 naira or somebody sends you 49,
it goes down.
How does that even work? And that is why a lot of these fintechs are also coming up now and being able to take some of their customers, because they seem to not be cutting your money, at least not yet. I mean, if the traditional banks are doing it and going scot-free, what is there to say that fintechs will not start doing it at some point?
Absolutely.
If we are not checking it right now. So that guy is well done.
Well, that was ingenious, by the way. Ingenious.
Apparently, it didn't go down well with some people. I heard something about him being being invited to
take him out of the premises.
Yeah.
No, of course that would happen, but he has passed
eventually
the message,
because he will be seen to
and
be
the
a
dent
nuisance
has been done
around the banking area.
I mean, I like the song, just that we can't see.
I actually like the idea, because sometimes you have to just call these people to order.
It's important.
He was creative in doing that. All right, Alera, what's your story?
My story is quite sad, and so the story basically is about the young, a 15 years old boy that was found with that actually kidnapped two children, and then they caught him while he was trying to kidnap the third child. And I mean,
15 years.
I mean, it's really the reason why I took this story is because amidst everything that is happening in Nigeria, it just seems like we have a root problem, which actually moves towards the conversation of today.
Yeah.
Imagine a 15-year-old, what are you really doing? Why are you even thinking about ritual? You're supposed to be in school learning, but you already have an idea of what ritual is about. You're already, going to kidnap children. That is not like too.
15-year-old is also a child. So a child
is just a teenager.
So I'm just wondering, because I think it was a couple of weeks ago that some young boys in Warri too, that they
went
found
to
their
do
way to
Yahoo.
Lagos, that they're looking for who would teach them how to do Yahoo. So right now, I'm just wondering, is it that the parenting system or the parenting style has been destroyed for the past 15
We're having that conversation
years?
today.
Exactly. That's why I even took this topic, because I'm like, it's becoming ridiculous, because now there's no process. The cycle doesn't exist anymore, because what we know is that from the young age, you go to secondary school, then you decide on what you want to study in school to become a better person. So right now, these kids don't want to go to school, because the people that they're looking up to probably are lazy enough to say, okay, it's Yahoo that we want to make quick cash. And imagine at 15, you already...
It is very worrisome.
It really is. I don't know. There was a particular time I was actually going to tell myself that I don't know if there's going to be a day I'll cry on this show. But it takes a lot sometimes to read this type of news and not
feel the emotions.
Because it's crazy. How would you just be a child? You're supposed to be a child. You're not even giving yourself an opportunity to be a child. So what happens to you when you're 20 if at 15 you're already you know, being a ritual, because actually he's actually a ritualist already, and for how much?
He's been programmed to be a ritualist.
5,000 naira, that is not even.
And that's how the desperation. Imagine the level. It's 5,000 naira, but for him, he sees it as probably a lot of money because of the either poverty state or state of mind that fuels such behavior and all. But
it is crazy.
We'll go in depth in the course of the conversation. Elsie, what do you have for us?
Okay. The story that caught my eyes or my attention is on Premium Times, and the headline reads, Kaduna Abuja Expressway free of bandits, safe for motorists. That's from the Nigerian police. It reads, the Kaduna State Commissioner of Police, Yekini Ayoko, has assured all road users plying the Kaduna Abuja highway that the road is safe for traveling and free from bandits. Quoting from a statement issued by the police public relations officer of the state, Muhammad Jalige, apologies, reported on Monday that the police commissioner gave the assurance when he embarked on an official confidence building and assessment tour of the road, of the highway rather. So I guess this became important for them to report because of the issues we've had over there, and people, of course, you know, people abandoned the road and decided to go with the train because of everything that's happening. So they're saying that with their confidence building and assessment tour, that the road is now safe. I guess we won't take them for their word.
It will be hard for Nigerians
there are people who do not
take them by their word.
Still on that road, so it's important for them to just hold on to this hope and hope that the road is safe.
The number of things that has happened from January to today.
We are watching. We're watching.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot going on, like you rightly said earlier. Okay, so my story is about our football superstar in Manchester United, who lost his baby. Ronaldo lost his baby that was just born, his newborn son. Yesterday, actually. In fact, when I saw the news, I was actually on the I was here on set when it just popped up on my phone. I was like, oh my goodness. And I said that was going to be my story today. So let me just read through. It says, football superstar Cristiano Ronaldo and his partner Georgina Rodriguez announced on social media on Monday that their baby has died. Ronaldo and Rodriguez said, it is with our deepest sadness we have to announce that our baby boy has passed away, and it is with great pain that it is the greatest pain that any parent can feel. The Manchester United and Portugal star had announced in October that he and Rodriguez were expecting twins. In December, they announced that they were expecting a boy and a girl. And then by yesterday, he said, only the birth of our baby girl gives us the strength to live this moment with some hope and happiness. And would like to thank the doctors and nurses for their expert care and support. Like we say, I mean, there's no loss that is less painful. Okay, just because it's a baby or whatever the circumstances around that happen, there's no loss that is painful. I took it personal because today we're also talking about children, and so whether it's lost by behavior or lost by death, there's really none that is easy to handle. And I want to reach out to him personally because I'm a twin as well. So knowing that one twin is gone is quite painful, because when the young girl will grow up and she's told the story that she had a twin brother that was not to be.
It's a rough patch.
It's a very rough patch, and our hearts go out to Ronaldo.
There will also be that guilt. I mean, as a parent, you begin to wonder,
what did I do? What didn't I do right? And all of that.
I think it's important for them to know it's really not their fault.
No.
I'm certain that they do, because the statement really shows
you can't be certain, my darling.
No,
they could give a statement, but internally, what they're going through
yourself for a while
might just be different.
And I'm hoping, of course, I want to believe they'll get the help they deserve, therapy and all.
To walk through the process.
Girl as well.
Absolutely.
It's a process that nobody should go through, but I pray God gives them the strength to pull through.
Amen. Yeah. All right. So please stay with us. We'll be right back in a few. Thanks for staying with us. Now, according to the Daily Trust, the Lagos State government announced on Monday the shutdown of all Chrisland schools in the state following an alleged sexual violation involving some pupils during an international trip. The alleged sexual violation happened when Chrisland School was in Dubai in March to take part in the World School Games, a 4-day annual competition with schools from all over the world. Now, the news of the alleged sexual violation came to the fore when Ubi Franklin, a talent manager, accused the school of complicity in the sexual violation involving the minor and another male pupil. The state government disclosed that the allegations of sexual violence involving students of Chrisland School are being investigated by the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, including the Ministry of Education, Office of Education Quality Assurance, and the Ministry of Youth and Social Development, as well as Ministry of Justice and the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency. The state government therefore reminded the general public that anyone who engages in any visual depiction of sexually explicit conduct involving a child commits an offense and is liable to custodial sentence of 14 years. This includes producing, distributing, receiving, or possessing an image of a child. The initial narrative of this story was that the alleged rape of this minor, but however, the sex tape indicates that she may have already been sexually exposed, which raises a lot of questions. We're analyzing the part of parents, the school, and the government in raising morally right individuals and how to prepare and protect them from the negativity of the world. Please let's hear what you will have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663. You can tweet to us at WayShowsAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. So ladies, our banter for today is about analyzing the Chrisland School underage sex saga. And when I was listening to this story, I was all kinds of emotions. I have a background as a family life practitioner, right? I've gone through that training and with my knowledge of neuro-linguistics programming as well. So it was like when I saw it, all of that training came back to the fore. And I'm passionate about children, I'm passionate about women, and anything that concerns them gets my antennas up. I was saddened, extremely saddened by this news. I went as far as not even watching the movie because I said movie, actually the video, because I have seen too many that I'm yet to declutter from my mind, especially when it concerns underage human beings. Now we have a situation of a young girl who was videoed, and this tape or video went viral, and all kinds of atrocities. I was following it on social media, so I heard all sorts of things about the video, which I do not even want to mention because it's a minor that is involved. But I want to hear our take on, first of all, our general take on this situation that is involving a minor. Before we go to the in-depth, we know that teenagers can be immature. We know that teenagers can be impulsive. Yeah, so she's even preteen.
She's preteen.
She's preteen. So both preteens and teenagers are in that age where their curiosity is aroused. So they want to know, they want to explore, and they find themselves in a very media forward world where every and anything goes. Then you have the aspect of parenting. Then you have the aspect of society. Then you have the aspect of the government and all of that. We'll get into all of that. But first of all, I just want to know what your take on this situation was. When you heard the scandal, what did you think? Who will I start with?
Let me go first. Okay. So when I heard about it, I was sad
And for some reason, my heart was racing really fast, during that time. And the reason is because, I mean, aside from being a mental health advocate, I mean, like you, I've had, conversations and sessions with both male and female, and I've heard their stories on how, they were abused as children. For me, I know somebody would have introduced this child to this thing. And you know how, as an adult, we, as we're here right now, when we talk about sex or we talk about this type of conversations, and we're like, nobody taught us how to do what or what to do well. We just grew up and nobody, like, it's a taboo to have this conversation. So imagine this child being exposed to maybe pornography or maybe exposed to sex at an early age, and she doesn't, I mean, at the time it would have happened to her, she probably doesn't have anybody to talk to. And then being secretive about those kind of things would, generate some more thoughts that you can't share. And at the time, as a young child of, God knows when it started, so let's assume now 10 years old. Now that she's 10 years old, I'm just wondering the number of, crazy thoughts that would have come through her mind before that incident that was even taped. Who knows how much other things that has even happened to her before. And I'm really sad because she's 10. And she doesn't even know what's even happening, even though the world is talking about this situation at the moment. My worry is, how is she going to come out of this situation? Because the drama and the trauma that she has gone through at this time, I'm actually trying to hold myself back because it's really emotional for me. And I am really concerned about how she's going to get help. Because if at the age of 10, you've been exposed to pornography, you've been exposed to sex, what else is going through her mind? Because right now that she's supposed to be focusing on her education and trying to develop herself, I'm just wondering where is the fixing going to start from? Okay. So I mean, I'm just in a bit, I don't know who else is looking at me. I'm just I'm a bit emotional, I'm confused, and I'm just wondering, how can this girl get help? Because there's a lot we can actually talk about, but the most important point is about help. How is she going to get over this? So I mean. Okay.
Glory.
When I heard about this, I had lots of questions. First off, the role of the parents, the role of the school, the society as a whole. I feel like we've gone past the point of just teaching sex education. It's also about morals. Now, if you expose a child to say, do not have sex at this, protect yourself from this, at what point do you start saying, okay, at this time, this is the right time to start? When is the right time to start? So I feel like the society is focusing a lot about just sex education and less on morals too. So now when you start telling a child about sex, the child gets curious and wants to know more. So if you don't differentiate, okay, this is the time you're even supposed to start thinking about this properly. This is just for you to know so that if anything goes wrong, this is where you can raise an alarm. But aside this is when you should start thinking of, this is the age you should even start thinking of, talking about boyfriends and everything. This is just for your general knowledge to know when it's going wrong. Now, when it comes to children growing up, what are they exposed to? Social media is there. Personally, I'm just wondering, why would I want to have a 9-year-old kid exposed to social media? It's a huge, because you can't really control what they get to see. Like, you can do your assignments, there should be restrictions. And so I have so many questions, so many things have gone wrong in which went unnoticed from my own point of view. From the side of the school, from the parenting side, it's just a whole lot. It's a whole lot.
I heard that she has some kind of followership on Likey, some app
I didn't
on
even know
Likey.
that social media existed. I mean,
But there are a lot of social media platforms young people are involved in now, doing all kinds of things. But let me hear what Elsie has to say. Elsie has gone cold all of a sudden.
So your question is, what was my first reaction, right? I mean, when I saw, like yours is you didn't watch the video, right?
No, I didn't even have to watch it to know what had gone.
I deliberately did not follow the story for my own piece. But unfortunately, social media,
still came up.
You still see
snippets.
Yeah. So I see it, I scroll past. I wasn't going to invest myself in it for my own mental health and my own peace. Right? Which is why I said I'm glad I'm not hosting today. Because I can't.
Thank you for the help.
But just to touch on what she said regarding sex education, I think there was like a mix up there. when you say sex education, there are levels to it. What you're telling a 3-year-old, 4-year-old,
it's totally different from an 8 to a teenager to an adult. Yeah.
So I don't think anybody's going to start telling a 10-year-old about reverse cowgirl or whatever I see. I hear people talking about. So I think we need to understand that part of sex education. It's an all-encompassing conversation from understanding your body, which is where it actually comes from as a child.
Absolutely.
And then understanding that you shouldn't be touched
there
in a
are
certain
boundaries.
way, understand your boundary, how to carry yourself, how to behave in society, and even morals comes into sex education.
Yes.
So I just wanted to correct that part. And of course, yes, a child is not supposed to be on social media. Even when you read the terms and conditions for social media, it's supposed to be 18-year-old. So it means that there has been a gap in parenting, and like I always say sometimes, I mean, I know that a lot of parents are neglecting their role these days, but there are parents too that if you tell them now to sit down and check, if there's like a checklist to say this is how to be a good parent, which unfortunately there isn't none. Parenting is something that everybody gets into as a novice, right? If you say there's a checklist, there are people who have checked all those lists, and unfortunately they still have a child that will make them look like, oh, you are a bad parent, right? But there was something I saw which I just want to read out while the whole noise is going on, because there's something I always say on this show. Whenever there are things that now come on social media and it should be amplified, I try to make us remember that it might be sensitive or insensitive to some people, but there's nothing really new under the sun, right? And the only difference right now is that we have social media. And it means that somebody can be doing something in Abuja and I'm in Lagos and I know about it because there is social media. We are now in a global village. It's just really small by the day. In fact, why am I saying Abuja? You can be in the United States of America and do something and I know about it right here. And 20 years before now, right, that couldn't have been. You can even do what you do here and I'm there, like behind the studio, and I don't know anything about it because that was what the world was then. But right now it's changed. And I saw this submission, I think it was from Adenike Oyetunde. She's a broadcast journalist as well. She said, I remember the bad girls in my set. I sure do. They did things. They did a lot of things, from stories of non-stop partying to stories of drinking, orgies, committing abortions with hangers, but no social media to circulate the stories. We have and know families with children fighting addictions to different things. It is a war. Pastors' kids join to make the stories intriguing. We read some of the pages of City People. We read some on the pages of City People. These girls will be fine. Very fine, actually. Nothing she has done or we do is new. This again is a reminder that parenting is so easy until it is your turn. I pray the redemptive grace of God over every child whose parents earnestly desire and desperately working towards that. Amen. So it was important for me to take this just to buttress what I said, because I know we are at a place where anything that comes on social media now, we're also hypocritical.
Quick to judge.
We all want to scream, we all want to shout, we all want to judge. Don't be surprised that some people that are judging already has a child that's probably younger than this girl and doing worse and they don't even know. But all I'm saying is we all just need to sit back as a society and look for ways to do things better. Has society failed? Yes, I agree. Chrisland as a school, have they failed? Yes, I actually agree that they failed. But we also need to now begin to look at the important things that we need to pick out, which is, of course, how she can get help, how things can be done better. This was not even filmed in Nigeria.
How we can prevent.
From what I heard.
They were still in Dubai.
And let's not forget that this child is a brilliant child. From what I read to or saw, she went to represent the school over there because she's very for you to be representing a school in such competition, then you need to understand what kind of mind she has. So yes, there is also that understanding that maybe because she's sexually active, she might not be paying attention to education. But that now rules that out again, because she is that brilliant to go over there. So I think that she needs all the help she can get. I think that conversations like this should not just be a frenzy conversation. I like that we do that on Ways a lot, because we bring people who talk about parenting, what we should do and whatnot. And I think that as time goes on,
we're going to elaborate on this further with experts in the house
that could help parents also be able to track their kids. I know it's hard. Which is why I like what Adenike said. Sometimes it's easy for you to speak because you are not the one in the center of the issue, right? When it is you, then you understand that really, at the end of the day, now God deceives us. Last.
On that note, let's just go and drink water and come back. We'll take a short break and we'll see you shortly. All right, so if you just tuned in, it's our ladies' night out, and our focus today is analyzing Chrisland's school underage sex saga. Please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. You can send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663, or you can tweet to us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. Our phone line is now open, so please call us on 0702 500 7749. It's 0702 50 7749. All right, ladies. So I hear you loud and clear. I hear what you're saying. But as we analyze this, my thoughts go towards each of the different areas now. We've talked to a large extent in the place of the child. I want us to be able to just talk before our calls begin to come in. Yeah. The area of parenting. Yeah. I have 4 kids. And those 4 kids are like life to me. I know what each of my children can do. If you say this person did this, I will smile and say, yes, I know. Because I've come to an understanding of my children. I've learned them over the years, and I know what they're capable of and what they're not. I've also seen, I have one who is becoming a teenager this year, and we have seen the transition from preteen and the child era to that semi-adult, feeling like an adult. In fact, he's almost taller than me now, and he's like rubbing shoulders and everything. But behavior, when I saw the video of the mom, and she narrating her story about her child, and there was a part that gave me a little bit of concern when she said that when they called her and said that something happened, that if it was a case of kissing or something, that it was okay.
Is that what she said?
Yes, really? In the video, a part of it mentioned that if it was just that, it was okay, but that they didn't tell her what exactly it was until she heard on social media that what it was. And then later on, I begin to see that this young girl has an app with all sorts of videos that show sexual tendencies and gestures and all of that. And then this video also comes out, and it is explicit in every way. And from all of the comments I've seen online, the outrage and all of that, I mean, the Nigerians know how to shout the loudest. That's the truth. But in the behind the cupboard, what are you doing there? How many people are really paying attention? So as parents now, so what's from the place of parents? I don't know. Even though you're not parents, but you have guardians.
To this question.
No. There are people who have guardians. I was a parent before I became a parent.
Exactly.
I was a parent before I became a parent because I had opportunity of taking care of my younger ones. And then I had opportunity of taking care of my sister's kids before I had kids. So I have learned and I've grown, right? But there are so many parents who are ignorant. I'm not sure that the mom even knew that there was an app that her daughter was probably had great followership on.
And that's not her fault too.
I'm not saying it's her fault. I'm just narrating, I'm taking on somewhere. And then there are some of all of these things. And then I heard there were some comments or someone who said that from a live situation that even when the girl saw the videos that they said, oh, she said, that's me, so what? I saw some comments like that. So already there's a fundamental problem. So I want us to address that angle of parenting.
Go back to
what Glory said
earlier. So I'm going to use my life story as an example. My mother was the military person in the house, while my father was the
softer,
the liberal
endearing,
one. So if mommy is,
everybody moves to
daddy. So there's something that I actually got to realize growing up. My mother was the iron hand in the sense that, like I was just saying, Elsie, she just hears that there's one boy that was escorting a lawyer to wear the kind pankere way you could collect. She would beat you would ask if you were adopted. That's what my mother and what I was trying to is
I think everybody in our age had that conversation.
Every parent should instill the value on the child, because as my mom was always quick to throw something or discipline me, my father would sit me down and say, baby girl, these things that you're looking for, you will get to a particular time,
you'll be tired.
And then he explained why. So that's why it comes with parenting, because as a parent, we are still trying to, let me not say we are not a parent yet, but parents are still trying to
discover and find
out
out a lot of
their
things.
own self, how they will, make themselves feel better, or how they become better people, right? Because nobody knows it all. Then imagine you as a parent, you have a child that you know that you're responsible for. The only thing you owe that child basically is for you to instill values and morals on that child as early as possible, because it is what you have taught the child at a very young age that he or she would grow up to learn. So I would say that girl has been neglected in a lot of ways, because we can't really pinpoint where this would have happened. And we know from stories we've heard how relatives, uncles, aunties, nannies have been the ones abusing, most people. And we have a lot of that have grown right now. Like Elsie said, there was no social media or internet then that would boost this type of conversations. For me, aside from when we're thinking about how to help the child, we also have to focus on the parenting as well, because this is actually a call for help to all parents. And it's time for every parent to actually, take a step back and start to look at what are the values I'm actually imbibing in my child, because those values is what will make or mar the child. Imagine at the age of 10, this girl is going to be in therapy for a very long time.
Of course.
Because but with the comments everybody is saying that she doesn't see a problem with it means that as an A student who is going for competitions and winning, competitions for her class, she's feeling like, okay, I know I'm doing good in school. So what do you want to tell me? What is it? So it's the value that you have to teach this human being, that they will know that, okay, yes, I'm not supposed to be doing it.
Okay, Elsie, what do you think?
Parenting, right?
Yes.
So I think that we should have more conversations, more seminars about parenting, because
we have School of Parenting. How many parents really go?
Well, I'm hearing that for the first time. So that's the point. It is not a public information, right? Like I said, I'm hearing that for the first time, School of Parenting, and that's cool. Again, if you say you have School of Parenting in Nigeria, because everything in Nigeria now, religion, they cover everything. Is it really School of Parenting?
Absolutely.
Or is that a place
where
we do. You dumb down on the parents to tell them your child must tie her head, your child must
we have a School of Parenting.
So good.
It would
be nice for you to maybe share that with people towards the end of the show, so that they can look out for that, because I think parenting is a skill that one has to be deliberate about. I also like the parts, we all had that experience, like you said, where our parents are really, really hard on us and making us, you begin to wonder. I had that moment where I was wondering, am I sure?
Everybody thought they were adopted, right? Yes.
But there are better ways to do things, right? And I think
the times have changed.
I hope that I have my own children, and one thing I would want to be able to have is friendship with them. Friendship that comes with strictness, but there's that friendship.
Balance.
There has to be a balance. My child has to be able to have conversations with me, right? I need to be able to tell you this is right or this is wrong, and let you understand why, and also give you room to express yourself, and then we'll come to an understanding. I need to be able to know that there's a call, right?
Yes, I think we have a call.
My thoughts there.
All right, I think we have our first call for the evening. Hello, are you there?
Hello.
Yes, you're live.
Yeah, I'm Sam. Hello.
Hello, go ahead, you're live.
Yes, I'm Sam.
Okay, Sam, welcome. You're
Where
live.
is my beautiful Hua?
She is on her way. Go ahead.
All right, about the truth of the matter is we've lost morale in Nigeria, all over the world. We've lost morale. In fact, I will say the social media exposed all parents now, all over the world. If they are listening, I'm sure they know, and we also know we've failed. Where we've got it wrong, I can't really pinpoint where we got it wrong. Because, take for instance, will you blame the parents that wants to teach their children to know one or two things about ICT? Will you want to fault the parent that will say, no, I'm not going to give you this phone, I'm not going to do this, I want to restrict? Do you know what and what they do outside? And apart from that, the kind of songs on our radio, are they encouraging? Are they the kind of songs that you listen and you want your children, to listen? You find some parents dancing to Knock Me Apako. How do you expect that child to grow? What do you expect from such children? I want all of us to restrict, to take back ourselves, review what we are doing, and killing our society deliberately.
Okay, I think we've lost Sam there, but thank you for your thoughts.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, just to respond
Elsie,
to what
yeah.
you're saying, while we were growing up, we also listened to the man con they do Kerewawa.
We
did that as well.
Yeah.
But let me just go back to my thoughts before I miss them. I think there has to be strictness and friendship at this stage. A
balance.
Because we also have a situation whereby we have like this generational gap where you have they call them digital natives, and then you are trying to catch up with them. And I have heard the arguments of saying, oh, don't expose them to phone and all that, but is it really possible at this point, right?
Elsie.
And also understand that there are actually tools for you to be able to help these children.
To monitor the phones.
Also, while growing up, we heard this a lot where you say, yes, you are the parents, but it takes a village to raise a child. Right? It is a collective.
So where's the community as well?
Now, this is where, and that is the only part where I think of Chrisland, and I'm wondering what happens in that school, because and also what happens in the schools of the elites, because this is not the first case we're having, right?
All right, we have another call. Yes, hello, you're live.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yes. Where's Uwa now?
Uwa will soon be back. Okay.
Okay, that's
Go
fine.
ahead.
That's fine.
Yes.
Yeah,
Youngest old man.
I just want you to understand some things. These days, most of the parents are kind of too busy to look into the fundamentals of parenting. I really like that word that you said. I think the uncle there, that you've been a parent before you've been parenting before you became a parent or something like that. Pardon my English, but I really understand you in that word. I mean, that shoe too. I've been a parent because I became a parent, or whatever the English is, but just understand what I'm trying to say. Now, basically, most parents lose it in the middle of trying to please that child and meet up with the requirement of the society, forgetting that some of all these things are bigger than we thought. You see, let me tell you one thing about these phones that we are using. This phone is like having an AK-47 in terms of words. You understand? It can destroy. That is a time bomb. Anything that has to do with gadgets. So for you to give a child a gadget, you have to know how far that child takes his own mindset into concept. You have to study your child. There's one thing we used to speak in Hausa language, that one day meaning somebody that can hold up to his own standard and say no to no. You don't test your children. You can even send outsider to give, and you see a child saying, I don't want. My mom says I should not collect. You see the other one collecting. You need to know a child that you release something for. And as a parent, if you cannot be in control of that thing, don't give it to your child. Forget about the schools. Everybody is busy now. A lot of things in the head. You are waiting for the school to come and help you train your pikin. While you are busy going to Dubai and London and New York looking for money, you can't get two things at the same time. You have to, if you want to be a parent, you bring it out head on. Some of us, our parents are so strict to our children, we don't even allow them to get phone until they are 18 or 17. Those that their parents are buying iPhone, whatever, they change iPhone for them per year. They are oppressing our kids and making them look stupid. But I know what I'm doing. Any day I start having time that I can call my child and say, bring your phone, let me have your password. I want to go through your phone. You see that guy holding that phone with fear. But more parents don't have the time. You buy such a kind of gadget. A child will have over 1,000 apps in its phone. And those apps are not even school related. Some parents don't even know how to even go around the phone. They don't even know what is Twitter. I asked somebody the other day, they were saying somebody saying that you people are tweeting on WhatsApp. Which is a parent that is saying that, which means you don't even know the difference from tweeting and WhatsApping. So the problem is the parents. It's the parents. I don't blame the school.
Thank you, youngest old man.
Or whatever.
Thank you so much, youngest old man. Wow, you had a lot to say this evening. But I hear him loud and clear. I mean, where do the parents become the example that the children also see is very important. And how are parents themselves updating themselves with the times? You cannot use 18th century methods to treat 21st century problems. And once a child is damaged, it's very difficult getting that child to come back to that state of innocence. It would take a whole lot of process. But I want to hear what Glory has to say in a few about parenting.
I totally agree with the last caller. Like, he was just taking the words off my mouth. Why will you give a child a tool and you don't know how to monitor it? So that's really the basis of what I'm saying in terms of phones. Why would you give a child such a sophisticated phone and you don't know how to monitor it? I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be for learning purposes or just to get information. So why don't you check on the child's phone? So I still go back to the parenting aspect of it. Yes, we are not perfect. We are learning every day. But the child is really young. For children of that age, and what I've also heard and seen, these are things which this child has been doing this. And how come it's been this long before it's now out in the open? So there's a gap somewhere, a parenting gap somewhere. That's what I'm trying to say.
I agree.
There's a parenting gap somewhere.
Okay, so very quickly, I also want us to pull in the society.
Very quickly, solution is always now.
Yes, solution. So
let me just give one quick one.
Yeah.
So somebody posted this, Moskeda, I don't know how to pronounce her handle, but she said something about Google Family Link. She said, parents, use the Google Family Link app on your children's phone. Google Family Link. You can block all apps, even text messaging. They can't install any app without your knowledge. You can even schedule to shut down their phone at any time. It's easy to set up. It requires you opening a Gmail account for them. From there, you can sync your phone with theirs. So I'm sure this is not the only tool.
Somebody posted this. First of all, nobody owns a phone in my house. All phones are open. Anybody can use it at any time. And then there's the family link. So everybody's phone is linked. If you try to open an app, he gets the message and we begin to check, okay, what's that app all about and all of that. So there's some measures. There's also some measures you can put on WhatsApp. And I remember the time when my son had some conversations with some people. He had some WhatsApp groups he was involved in. And I went through, just did a random check. And I saw some messages. And I said, Annie, from this WhatsApp group, it's obvious that the conversations here are not really, I mean, it's not like anything, but really, these people, first of all, the language that they're using, they don't even use clear English, BRB, this and that. Do you want to end up not speaking English by the time you're done with this? There's some questions I asked him, was like, okay, you know what? I don't need to be on this group. And then he just deleted himself from the group. And just some checks. That conversation, like you said, is very, very important. Continuously updating, continuously also being the example. Because sometimes we have a lot of novice parents who are not paying attention to times of season or even updating themselves in terms of information and how they can continue to have conversations with the children with regards their as they grow and as they're being exposed. It's already clear that in the world that they live in, exposure, my 3-year-old knows how to surf through. He knows the difference between YouTube Kids and YouTube. He knows the difference. So sometimes he's telling you, I want to go to YouTube. I said, no, this is for you, YouTube Kids. All of your what do they call them, are there. But let's quickly take some messages because our time is so far spent. Do we have messages? Alera, do you have any message?
I don't have one yet. So I was going to quickly add that one thing that parents need to put at the back of their mind is that when you hear about sexual predators, like that's the older ones, if you really look deep into where it started from when they were really young. Okay. So if you don't, curtail your children at the early stage in life, I mean, you're going to cause a social menace at the end of the day in years to come, because exactly, it's a ripple effect. Okay. So I have a comment here. Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying Ways. Concerning the closure of the Chrisland School, I am in total support wholeheartedly. Due process has to be followed and it has to be done properly. So many things happen today in Nigeria which should not happen at all. We have poor parenting in Nigeria and we need to organize a seminar or have good schools where proper parenting is addressed. According to what Sister Elsie said, also, there are things that teenagers should not learn at this age. They should wait until they are mature before learning about these things. If not, they will be corrupt. Parenting is very important when raising a child. Sister Alera and Sister Elsie, you are welcome. We miss you. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Daniel. Thank you. That's very core because parenting, if you are not, if you're a parent and you're not paying attention, then a lot of things can go under. A lot of things can go wrong. Very important. Yes, Elsie.
A message here but no name says, good evening, ladies. This is indeed a disturbing but very necessary topic concerning children. My heart goes out to the little girl in this horrible situation. But let us also remember that the young boys involved also need help and counseling. Absolutely. There is no perfect parent, but we as parents also have to be very alert and observant concerning our children. Thank you. No name, but thank you very much. I like bringing the boy conversation into this because yes, absolutely, they need help.
I think the reason why they're not talking about the boys is because
it's what it is. We always focus on the girls.
I mean, the world. That's how the world is. Really.
That was one of the first things I even observed. I said, so where are the boys that were also involved in this? Because they too need help.
Of course,
they have been exposed, and only God knows what they've been through before this exposed them.
This is a very important memory that will not go anywhere.
Yeah, okay. So I have this comment from Raphael, and it says, every young child is full of energy and restless, but there is need to direct such energy or channel it towards positive and productive venture. There is time for everything in life, and we must instill good values in our children. The parents in question now are learning the rudiments of parenting in a very hard way.
Very hard.
Well, Raphael, it's really not easy to be a parent, but if you find yourself in a place where you have to parent, then you must get up to the challenge. You must equip yourself with the tools, with everything and then you must be the example that child needs to see.
This thing you're saying is really important because you know how so there's, I don't know if you know Robert Greene. He's an author that writes about health, mental health and all of these things. Robert Greene says something like, we go to school to learn mathematics, we go to school to learn English. Why don't we go to school to learn? Yes, we don't make it. We should normalize it because nobody teaches you how to be a parent. You have to actively put that effort into learning and into becoming a better person because you're bringing children into this world. So
absolutely. And on that note, we will be ending the conversation today. we will bring in the experts
Yes,
because there
please.
is
We need
a school of
them.
parenting
Yes.
that people need to know
Yes.
about, but
Yeah.
we'll bring them.
Yeah.
But thank you, ladies. Thank you,
Thank you.
Glory. Thank you, Alera. Thank you,
you.
Elsie, for making the show amazing today. All right, so before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram. It's at Ways Show Africa, and on Twitter, it's at Ways Show Africa 1. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow all our social media engagements. And remember to like, share, comment, and invite your friends and family to watch us and follow us. If you missed today's quote, here it is again. If a child grows up in an environment infested with predators, he or she would have a hard time building healthy relationships in society their whole life. All right, so we'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Bye for now.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Concern grows over the buildup of Russian troops along its border with Ukraine. What can the U.S. and its European allies do to prevent or punish a Russian invasion? And a look inside how Ukrainians are preparing to defend themselves. Now, on the Inside Story, the Ukraine-Russia crisis. Hi, I'm Anita Powell, VOA White House correspondent. Behind me is the West Wing of the White House, where President Joe Biden works. The president is briefed daily on a number of issues of national security, lately about Russia's growing military buildup along its border with Ukraine. The U.S. says more than 100,000 Russian troops are amassed at the border, ready to invade at the command of President Vladimir Putin. Among his demands, Ukraine must never be a part of NATO. The U.S. and its allies say the decision is Ukraine's to make. They are supplying weaponry to Ukraine and fortifying defenses throughout the region. We will get the details on troop movements and preparations inside Ukraine later in the show. First, Washington's view of the crisis. Strong words from U.S. President Joe Biden as the drama deepens between Moscow and Washington.
We continue to urge diplomacy as the best way forward. But with Russia's continuing its buildup of its forces around Ukraine, we are ready no matter what happens.
President Vladimir Putin has deployed tens of thousands of troops along the Ukrainian border, not just within Russian territory, but also in Belarus. The White House says more than 105,000 Russian troops surround Ukraine on two sides. Russia objects to Ukraine's desire to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and has demanded that the U.S., the most powerful member of the Collective Security Alliance, bar Ukraine's entry. Washington announced on February 2nd that the U.S. would send about 2,000 U.S.-based troops to Poland and Germany and shift 1,000 soldiers from Germany to Romania.
These movements are unmistakable signals to the world that we stand ready to reassure our NATO allies and deter and defend against any aggression.
But military officials have not given up on a diplomatic solution.
We do not believe conflict is inevitable. The United States, in lockstep with our allies and partners, has offered Russia a path to de-escalate. But we will take all prudent measures to assure our own security and that of our allies.
The top U.S. diplomat at the UN says the stakes have never been higher.
The situation we're facing in Europe is urgent and dangerous, and the stakes for Ukraine and for every UN member state could not be higher. Russia's actions strike at the very heart of the UN Charter. This is as clear and consequential a threat to peace and security as anyone can imagine.
Russia fired back, with its ambassador saying Russia does not intend to invade. This dispute between Russia and the U.S. and its NATO allies is about much more than ideology, says analyst and author Angela Stent. A stable Europe is central to U.S. interests, and sending more than $200 million worth of security assistance to non-NATO Ukraine is part of that.
It's not only ideology, it's security. I mean, it's, a system of alliances and a stable European continent, which are in the U.S.'s interests. We don't live in isolation. We're a very large island with two neighbors, right? We're a continent. But so it's more than that. It's not about ideology. It's about power politics, but it's also about principles. Which do have to do with territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Meanwhile, Russia and top U.S. rival China have become ever closer. Beijing expressed dissatisfaction when Russia invaded Georgia, while China hosted the 2008 Olympics. The Chinese capital will host the Winter Games starting this week. With the U.S. threatening heavy sanctions against Russia, and even against Putin himself, if Russia invades Ukraine, Moscow will need support from the world's second-largest economy. Analysts say this could play out slowly as the Olympics take center stage and Washington continues to remind Moscow of the consequences of an invasion.
If it does move into Ukraine, then the economic measures that the United States and others are going to bring to bear, to a certain extent, will push them even further into a junior relationship with China, which is just going to hurt their economy in the long run. I don't really see a lot of strong outcomes here. So that's one of the reasons why I think that diplomatic outcome might still be on the table, but Russia's going to try to let the clock run as long as possible to let us feel uncomfortable.
And so, as the games begin in Beijing and the war games continue on both sides of Ukraine's border, can these two old rivals find their way back to peace? As Russian officials continue to deny their intention to invade Ukraine, the military buildup continues. VOA Chief Diplomatic Correspondent Cindy Sain reports Russian officials are willing to de-escalate military activity if the White House will address their main security concerns.
Russian President Vladimir Putin made his first comments in weeks Tuesday about Ukraine, blaming the U.S. and NATO for the mounting tensions.
Their most important goal is to contain Russia. That's the thing. In this sense, Ukraine itself is just a tool to achieve this goal. This can be done in different ways. One of them is to draw us into some armed conflict.
But experts note Putin is the one who deployed more than 100,000 Russian troops to Ukraine's border, Crimea, and Belarus to bolster his demand that NATO pull some of its forces out of Eastern Europe and promise to never admit Ukraine. With this military buildup, Putin has put himself into a box, says former CIA military analyst Jeffrey Edmonds.
He's made very maximalist demands that he knows that we can't. I would assume that he knows we can't meet. We're not going to withdraw NATO infrastructure back to 1997 levels, which is one of the things that they've asked us to do. And so I think he's in a holding pattern waiting for the right military composition on Ukraine's border in order to actually take military action.
President Joe Biden says he and Putin understand each other, but Biden has also said he believes Putin is planning to invade Ukraine. Some experts say Putin wants to make sure Russia is still viewed as a major player on the world stage. Angela Stent wrote the book Putin's World.
And he believes that the rest of the world should treat Russia as if it were the Soviet Union. He doesn't want to restore the Soviet Union, but he wants to be treated as a great power whose views are respected and where people sort of fear Russia and they accept that Russia has a right to this sphere of influence in its neighborhood.
Some experts say Putin likely sees eastern Ukraine, where a war has been simmering since he annexed Crimea in 2014, as part of Russia.
So I think Putin might acknowledge that Western Ukraine is genuinely Ukrainian and perhaps belongs in the European cultural and political world, but in his eyes, Eastern Ukraine is sort of a version or an extension of Russia.
But what Putin really fears the most is dissent from his own people, says Bill Browder, founder of the Magnitsky Justice Campaign.
The average Russian is worse off, a lot worse off than when he first became president. And that's all, he owns that. That's all on him. And so he's pulling this strategy straight out of the dictator's playbook, that when people are mad at you, make them mad at somebody else, start a war.
During his New Year address to the nation, Putin did not mention that he implemented a major crackdown on his critics. The most influential one, Alexei Navalny, was jailed 1 year ago after he survived a poisoning attack. Cindy Sain, VOA News.
As Russian forces gather along Ukraine's border, the Pentagon has placed 8,500 troops on heightened alert for possible deployment to NATO countries in Eastern Europe. VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb spoke with Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby about the U.S. position and potential military involvement.
The president has been very clear that in the event of another invasion of Ukraine by Russian forces, the U.S. forces will not be engaged on the ground in combat in Ukraine. He's made that very, very clear. But he's also made it very clear that we have an obligation to our NATO allies to make sure that we're backing up our Article 5 commitments to the alliance. And so we are exploring a range of options to help bolster the alliance on the eastern flank and to prove our dedication to that very ironclad security commitment inside NATO.
And so clearly by invading Ukraine, Russia would put the pressure on the U.S. and NATO to bolster their eastern flank with troops and other defenses, yes?
Look, I would argue that already there's a feeling of some pressure inside the alliance to make sure that it is clear to Mr. Putin how seriously all the allies take our mutual defense requirements. So we've got to make sure that that not only do we send a strong signal about NATO solidarity, but that the alliance really is solidly prepared to defend itself if needed.
You mentioned the building up of defenses, and one of those domains that we have in the defense world is cyber. The Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber is in Europe as we speak. Would a cyber attack on Ukraine constitute a Russian incursion?
Well, I think I'd say what the president said was any incursion in Ukraine would trigger economic consequences, and I think I'd rather not characterize it beyond that. That said, you're right that we have seen this out of the Russian playbook before, the use of cyber operations to sow discord or to try to incite violence, to disrupt infrastructure. And we would not be surprised to see that again used by Russia in the run-up to perhaps something more conventional from a military perspective. And we have, as you know, we have a small number of trainers in Ukraine, and since 2014, the United States has helped contribute to better cyber resilience inside Ukraine. Not to say it's perfect, but I think the Ukrainians understand too that that is a tool that the Russians could use, and that we all need to be mindful of that and to be watching out for it.
You have said here in this room that Russia has more than 100,000 troops at the border with Ukraine. Russia is denying that currently, so why not declassify some intelligence to show who's telling the truth? Well, look, I mean, we're confident in our assessments, and we are careful in the degree to which we talk about those assessments. I think that's the prudent thing to do here when you're dealing with an actor like Russia. They also have denied that they have any intention to invade Ukraine again, to violate Ukrainian sovereignty. So, you know, a way to prove that would be to take those more than 100,000 troops and send them back home, rather than keep them arrayed as they are around the eastern and northeastern border of Ukraine, down south around Crimea, and then in occupied Crimea, and then in Belarus too. And then the final question, you've been talking about the escalation that Russia has been doing. Have they shown any signs of de-escalating at this point? No, they have not. As I said, even just as recently as today, we continue to see the flow of additional combined arms capabilities from elsewhere in Russia to the border with Ukraine and into Belarus. So no, there's been no sign from a military perspective of de-escalation. Now, on the diplomatic side, there was an exchange between Minister Lavrov and Secretary Blinken, and I think you heard Secretary Blinken say that he still believes that there's time and space for dialogue, and we, of all people, we absolutely fully support that and want to see that happen. That's the best way forward here to de-escalate this, this potential crisis here. But from a military perspective, no, we continue to see added capability, and that's deeply concerning.
Ukraine's leaders are trying to calm anxieties of a country trying to conduct business as usual. But it's hard to dismiss the threat across the border. Our Ricardo Marquina has been reporting from inside Ukraine for more than a week, watching Ukrainians trade war preparation tips on social media while trying to live life as normal. Here's his report from Ukraine's capital, Kyiv.
On the outskirts of Kiev, a group of about 200 men and women receive military training. They are civilians who have joined the Territorial Defence Force, a reserve corps set up by authorities to support the Ukrainian armed forces in the event of a conflict. They train on their own time and they buy their own weapons.
I am here to learn fighting techniques and support the army to defend Ukraine.
Russian military pressure on Ukraine, with a massive deployment not far from its eastern border, has once again raised the spectre of war. For many here, the question is not whether there will be a war, but when.
Putin believes that there is no country called Ukraine and that he has to take it under his control. Since he could not do it by changing his government from within, he only has one option left, the military path.
After more weeks of intense media reporting on a possible conflict, those in charge of these exercises want to reduce tensions among the Ukrainian population and are urging calm, including among these trainees.
Our commanders tell us, clean the gun, get ready, and don't panic. That is the Ukrainian way.
The following workday, these men and women will return to their jobs in the city, while in Moscow and Washington, the political tug-of-war that could push them to war will continue. For Ricardo Marquina in Kiev, John Spear, VOA News.
Miroslava Gongadze has covered Ukraine for VOA since 2004 as anchor of our daily TV news show Chaz Time and chief of our Ukrainian service. She has recently been promoted to VOA's Eastern Europe chief, based in Kyiv. I spoke to Miroslava about how the crisis is being handled in Ukraine.
It feels like living near the volcano that can erupt anytime. So they kind of get used to this permanent, constant threats, and they cope with it. However, this recent months, the threat is more imminent. So people are starting preparing more. They are signing up for defense. Local defense groups. They are buying arms. They are buying weapons. They are legally, obviously, it's possible to buy weapons in Ukraine. They are creating safe houses. They are planning their escape routes. They are planning to take their families out.
Do you think that these are evenly matched forces?
Unfortunately, it's definitely not evenly matched forces. I have to say that Ukrainians' armed forces are heavily outnumbered and outgunned by Russia's army. But military experts say that they would be capable of mounting significant resistance and inflicting heavy casualties if Russia were to launch a large-scale invasion.
Let's talk about the different messages coming out of Washington and Kiev, with the White House saying that invasion is imminent, and President Zelensky saying this is overblown. There's no need to overreact. Can you explain to us why we're hearing those two messages and what the consequences of that mixed messaging could be?
My take would be that it's just probably unimaginable for Ukrainians and for Ukrainian government that something like that can happen, meaning that full-scale invasion can happen. Everybody understands that this, if this invasion will happen, that will change Ukraine, it will change the Europe, and will change the
world, is what President Joe Biden said. He said this would be the biggest deal since World War II. Do you agree with that statement?
I totally agree with that. I think the Joseph Biden and our U.S. NATO allies understand, specifically Europeans who are close to member of European Union and those who are close to Russia, like Poland, Romania, those countries in the North Baltic states. They are aware of Russian threats, and they feel and understand it the most. And they do ask United States and NATO to help and to support more.
And then finally, I just want to talk about some of the other players on this very complex chessboard. We see this as a big contest between NATO and Russia, with Ukraine caught in the middle. But let's talk about the other characters. We also have China, and we also have Turkey. Those are two that come to mind.
Turkey is trying to play both cards. They need to maintain their good economic, specifically political relationship with Russia. But at the same time, they do want to have Ukraine, to support Ukraine as well. In terms of China is for years trying to put their foot into Ukrainian economy, and there are some forces in Ukrainian government, in the Ukrainian parliament, who are supporting China's involvement and bigger engagement with China.
Any clash between Russia and Ukraine will threaten Europe's energy security. The European Union gets about a third of its natural gas from Russia. Economic sanctions are expected to target Russia's energy sector, and China is watching the situation with great interest. Our Henry Ridgewell has the inside story from London.
Western nations have threatened unprecedented economic sanctions against Moscow if it invades Ukraine. If cut off by the West, could Russia look east to China for help?
The policy I think China is likely to take is to do whatever they can to help the Russians to face up to the economic sanctions that the US and Europeans may impose on Russia, economic links between China and Russia are not really strong enough to replace any break off of economic links between Russia and Europe.
China has offered political support for Moscow in its standoff over Ukraine.
This foreign policy coordination will definitely increase because from the Russian perspective, intensification of the military partnership between Russia and China is precisely one of the major pains which Russia can inflict to the United States and NATO.
Meanwhile, China is closely watching NATO and America's response to any Russian invasion.
Even though there's these troop deployments to Eastern European states, no states are talking about directly sending troops into Ukraine itself to defend. And of course, China is taking note of that with some of their own territorial disputes in their own area.
Taiwan is China's biggest territorial dispute, and there is a risk of miscalculation as Beijing watches events unfold in Ukraine, says Steve Tsang.
The Chinese seeing the Americans and the Europeans talking big, but not doing very much about it, which would embolden them over Taiwan and potentially miscalculate what the American responses to a crisis over Taiwan might be.
Despite their mutual rivalry with the US, China and Russia's interests don't always align. Beijing's multi-trillion-dollar Belt and Road Initiative cut through several former Soviet bloc states, including Ukraine. A direct rail and ferry freight link opened in 2016, linking China with Ukraine's Black Sea coast via Georgia, Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan, bypassing Russia. China has also funded infrastructure projects, including a new metro line for Kiev. If Russia invades Ukraine, could Beijing's investments in the region be at risk?
The more immediate impact on the Belt and Road Initiative would in fact be the Russian military intervention in Kazakhstan. And the Chinese government actually have shown that they are quite relaxed and comfortable with that. To them, it's more important to support authoritarian states and autocrats to stay in power, and then for some of them to be closer to Russia than to China at the moment. Over the longer term, things may change.
In the short term, analysts say China is keen to keep a lid on the simmering tensions for at least the next few weeks as it prepares to host the Winter Olympics. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.
Thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter at 6ArmsPowell. Connect with VOA News on Instagram and Facebook, and stay with voanews.com for all the latest news and information. See you next week for the Inside Story.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, PlusTvAfrica, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from PlusTvAfrica.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
On Plus TV News now. 2 die as NAV aircraft crashes in Kaduna. Chris Ngige joins 2023 presidential race. Chrisland's head parents, others report to SCID Monty. Good evening. I am Maureen Menongwe-Zigwe, and this is the news now. No fewer than 2 pilots have died after aircraft belonging to the Air Force crashed in Kaduna on Tuesday evening. It was gathered that the pilots died after the aircraft, which was an aircraft, crashed. The pilots, our correspondent, were on training session. Beg your pardon. The pilots, our correspondent learned, were on a training session when the incident happened at the NAF base in Kaduna. Efforts to get the NAF Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Edward Gabwet, were not successful. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, today made public his intention to contest the 2023 presidential election on the platform of the APC. Ngige made the declaration at Alo, his country hometown in Idemili North local government area of Anambra, in an occasion organized by his political associates. He said after due consultations that he decided to vie for the position because he has all it takes to steer the ship of Nigeria to a safe harbor. A cross-section of Nigerians who have exercised their civic responsibilities by voting during elections say though the process is unusually stressful, it is worth it, as it gives a sense of fulfillment as a citizen. In this report, our correspondent Jacinta Obiuku x-rays ways of ending voter apathy.
One responsibility of citizens is voting. The law does not require citizens to vote, but voting is a very important part of any democracy. By voting, citizens are participating in the democratic process, but when not, they hand over political power to views they may oppose. While some say they are not confident in the election process in the country over the years, others believe it is their right to choose who governs them, irrespective of the cumbersome voting system.
It will make me feel fulfilled like a Nigerian because I voted for the person that I needed and they gave me the person. That was 2011. When Goodluck and Buhari, the first time. That was nice. I voted and I enjoyed that time because it was free and fair election.
Well, normally in this country, we just vote. We try our best to vote. So if you vote and it turns out negative, you try again another year.
I have voted before several times. I can't count it. So, and why we are voting is because if I'm voting for somebody, I'm voting because I want the person to lead us very well.
I'll still continue to vote because I believe one day everything will change for good. My perception concerning our election is that our vote doesn't count. So, but I felt if you continue saying that, we won't go anywhere. So I decided to go out and then cast my vote for who I voted for.
Political analyst Professor Sani Fege shared his voting experience, which he believes has been worthwhile. He spoke alongside Babatunde Olaoluwa, who is an executive member of the All Progressives Congress in Lagos State.
My first time of voting was in the Second Republic. That was 1979 when I was a graduate assistant. At that time, there wasn't much hassle in terms of voter registration. It was quite arranged, okay system. The process was smooth, and people were elated. We were well educated in terms of what was expected of us as voters. The political parties campaigned vigorously to enlighten the electorate.
Voting for the first time occurred in 1983 during the UPN days. And in those days, there was a sense of fulfillment. In fact, before the day came up, you will be yearning for it because it was a performing government. It was a government that had direction. And because it impacted positively on the people, particularly those of us who were younger ones, are still going through our education. Then we wanted that government to continue in office.
Fege and Babatunde share the same opinion. Nigerians must not trivialize their civic responsibility.
The fate of the country today and in the future is in their hands because democracy has given us the opportunity to shape how things will go in terms of politics and governance.
All of us put together need to talk to ourselves. The kind of orientation that is injected into the youth at these days about voting is not encouraging. And I think something needs to be done to ensure that we have every individual of voting age to vote at every election so that the government put in place will be the government of the people.
Recently, the renowned clergy Pastor Enoch Adeboye charged his congregation to ensure they all participate in the next elections as it's their right.
Before you became a Christian, you are a Nigerian. You have a duty to your country to register, to vote, to make sure that your vote will count. You have a duty to belong to any party of your choice at the very grassroots. You can't sit down, fold your hands, refuse to vote, and then begin to complain about the government.
Perhaps this is a clarion call to all Nigerians, including human rights activists, the mass media, and even political parties to begin engaging the people in voter education. With many big names aspiring to lead, especially from Asuro, 2023 election may just be a game changer for eligible voters. Jacinta Obuku, PlusTV News.
And as another electioneering year draws closer, Nigerians have been advised to put on their thinking cap, reject money bags, and those with shady characters who shall be seeking their vote in the forthcoming 2023 general elections. A chieftain of the APC, Moshood Salvador, made the call on Sunday during the annual Ramadan Lecture Zakat event held at Salvador Towers in Lagos. He enjoined the electorate to think twice before voting anybody seeking their votes.
They should not sell their votes. They should vote with conscience. If they know somebody is a thief, if they know somebody is not a honest person, if they know that somebody is a ritualist, if they know that somebody, why should you be convinced to vote for such person when you can see God-fearing person you can vote for? If anybody doesn't have the fear of God, he can never have the feelings of the people. Therefore, you should try as much as possible to look for somebody, not money, not position, not because somebody was former governor or somebody was former president or former minister. No, he was governor for his family. It was because we couldn't see what they did. And they come back again to come and tell you, somebody was a minister. He was a minister for his family. We couldn't see what he did. They will budget 10 trillion, 5 billion, only 2 billion will be spent, only 500 million will be utilized. And yet, they come back and say they want to become your president. It is wicked of anybody embezzling money, stealing your money away, money they don't need. When we did the analysis, 1 billion naira, for somebody to be spending 1 million every month, you will need to spend it for 83 years. You will need to spend 1 billion for 83 years if you spend 1 million every month. And somebody will sit down, they will say he stole 300 billion, 500 billion. They will go to court. Our law will now release. We are not ready. I keep saying it. If you don't go into capital punishment for all these thieves, you are only wasting your time.
Nigerian youth have been asked to show more interest in the electoral process. Some stakeholders in Ondo State said youth must take up the challenge and change the narrative in the polity. A federal lawmaker, Lawson Alade, said gone are the days when the youth were relegated to the back door. According to him, more youth are now showing interest in politics because of fresh ideas.
Yeah, I think on the long run, the future is now. When you say youth, all of us are just coming to terms with reality that we must stand up as one unit and then speak to the betterment of everyone, and then we also must take care of ourselves, rule ourselves, and then we can hand over to our children at the time without no grievances or disconnect.
I've been hearing youth are the future of tomorrow, for tomorrow that never comes. When I was 10 years old, they told me youth are the future of tomorrow. I was 20 years old, they said youth are the future. And now I'm above 40. They are still saying youth. So when is the tomorrow going to come? So the tomorrow was supposed to be yesterday in a real sense of it. And this time around, we think that we should, put our destiny in our own hands. And we have seen the agitation, and we have seen those things that the youth can do through their energy.
A part of a building in the residence of the former Speaker of the Ondo State House of Assembly, Taufik Abdulsalam, has been razed by fire. The building was on fire around 6 a.m. at Ijakpo area of Akure. The incident affected the boys' quarters part of the building. It was gathered that the fire incident was caused when a generating set at the boys' quarters caught fire. Many electrical appliances were affected in the building.
First of all, I have to thank God, alhamdulillah, for everything. It's not something we can explain. We were all inside this morning after Saho, and Madam was downstairs trying to do some work. All of a sudden, just heard a loud bang, and I was wondering what would be there until the people in the next compound were shouting, "Move the vehicle, move this, move it," and by the time we were down, there was fire. I think because we have two generators here, I think what happened was that probably it got spark. I don't know, but we just know that there was fire here. Before we know what's happening, everywhere got start burning. But first, I have to appreciate the people of this street.
We are in the mosque this morning because when we pray finish, we used to do some prayer. So we just hear the sound. Bow. What is happening? Because we are the next neighbor to this building. So before we look up, we have started seeing fire. Small. So everybody was running, what is happening? Because we have car beside this building. Just tried to drop the car out. Came here also, the fire has become something big. It's not something small at all. So we try our best just to carry the cars out first and to pack all the gas in the environment. So everybody in these areas come.
Edo State Commissioner of Police has met with the Nigeria Union of Journalists, Edo State Council, as part of his move to create a working synergy in actualizing a crime-free society in the state. The chairman, Edo State chapter of the Nigeria Union of Journalists, Festus Alenke, assured the police chief of a workable synergy.
Thank you for all the professional effort we have been putting in place and your synergy with the State Police Command. All this well. I'm looking forward for further cooperation and synergy in the days ahead.
I want to assure you that journalists in Edo State will continue to cooperate with your command towards ensuring that all your activities are well documented and made public nationally and internationally. We also want to quickly say here that we are partners in progress because it's our responsibility to work in tandem to ensure that the society we live in remains very peaceful.
Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State has updated President Muhammadu Buhari on security situations in the state, including the recent killing of INEC staff by bandits in the state. The governor, who spoke to State House correspondents after the closed-door meeting with the president, said 2 suspects were apprehended yesterday in connection with the incident. The suspects are currently helping the police in their investigation. 6 suspected cultists and a car snatcher have been arrested by the Delta State Police Command. The Commissioner of Police, Ari Muhammad Ali, while commending the efforts of the officers, also urges them to continue to be on their toes and go after all criminal elements in the state with a view to making the state unbearable for them. He also appreciated the efforts of residents of the state who have been supporting the command by way of information volunteering and assured them that their identity will be treated with utmost confidentiality. The IGP, Usman Alkali-Baba, has confirmed the appointment of Olumuyiwa Adejobi as the 25th Indigenous Force Public Relations Officer. The IGP had in February appointed Adejobi Force PRO in acting capacity. He took over from CP Frank Mba, who was nominated for the senior executive course at the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, Jos. Adejobi has carved a niche for himself in police public relations management, with the experience he has gained serving as PPRO in different police commands and zones for more than a decade. The Lagos State Police Command has invited all parties involved in the alleged sexual abuse of a 10-year-old primary 6 pupil of Chrisland schools located in the Victoria Garden City area of the state. Police Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundeyin said all parties involved in the matter have been directed to report to the State Criminal Investigation Department, Panti, today. The parties involved include the school's head teacher, G.I. Azike, and the parents of the female pupil who allege that their daughter was sexually abused during the school's participation in the World School Games at Dubai, United Arab Emirates, though the school management said the female pupil was among 76 pupils that represented the school at the Dubai event, which was held between March 8 and 14th, 2022. It said the allegation of rape was false. Rather, the school said 2 pupils of the school engaged in what the school described as sexual misconduct in a game called Truth or Dare when the act occurred after lights out. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission today urged electricity distribution companies in Nigeria to respect the rights of electricity consumers following the recurrent power outage in the country. The Commission said during this period of severe electricity shortages and palpable customer dissatisfaction, DISCOs must be mindful of their commitments and respect consumers' rights. Consumers have a right to contest the tariff band classification they have been assigned, and payment for meters shall not be made if meters are not available. The International Organization for Migration, IOM, in collaboration with the Nigerian mission in Tripoli, has successfully repatriated another batch of 158 stranded Nigerians in Libya. Mr. Kabiru Musa, charged the affairs of the Nigerian mission in Libya, disclosed this in a statement today in Abuja. He said that among the returnees were men, women and children who were either stranded or rescued victims of human trafficking. The federal government says the National Theatre in Igomu, Lagos State, which is under renovation, will be known as Lagos Creative and Entertainment Center upon completion. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, disclosed this today in Madrid, Spain. He also signed an agreement on Nigeria's hosting of the first global conference on cultural tourism and creative industry. The minister added that in an effort to ensure that the complex is ready for the hosting in November, he recently undertook an inspection tour of ongoing work there with stakeholders. The Nigerian Ports Authority today said 25 ships bearing 7,000 metric tons of liquefied petroleum gas and others are expected to arrive at the port. The ships laden with petroleum products, food items and others were expected to arrive at the Lagos Port Complex from April 19 to April 30. The NPA added that another 5 ships had arrived at the port waiting to berth with bulk sugar, container, automobiles, gasoline, and general cargo. Nigeria has been in the grip of an intense heat wave over the past few months, as climate change experts say that there won't be a relief if necessary actions are not taken to tackle the ambience. The weather condition, which began in the month of February, has exposed many Nigerians to a number of health risks, including heat stroke. Plus TV News health correspondent Ngozika Ohechisi has more in this report.
In Nigeria, the dry season usually starts from the month of March to April every year. However, this year, There have been an extreme hot and humid weather nationwide, even in coastal areas such as Lagos. Hitting the streets, residents of Lagos complain about the unbearable heat.
Even if you have fans, nothing will work for your house. I say use hand fan, they fan yourself, come outside. Sometimes we spend night for outside till daybreak because of the heat.
Both night and afternoon, morning, the weather is too high. Maybe this is the end of the life, so I don't know.
We are feeling the hot weather, but there is nothing we can do with it. Because NEPA no bring lights. So that is why we cannot sleep well in the night in the house.
We don't have choice because every pleasant day we buy petrol so that we can sleep better. Because if you can't see fan, the heat is too much. See on my neck like this for it scratches because we have to buy the petrol and we run it to the second day. So I'm not okay.
Medical and climate change experts warn against the dangers to human and natural resources. Dr. Tuyime Bawandu, a public health expert for over 3 decades, speaks about the major risk factors of heat and preventive measures to take during this period.
The purpose of sweating is to provide a cooling system because once you sweat and the water evaporates, it cools your body. That is the purpose of the sweat. So now you have to sweat excessively. When you sweat excessively, you lose nutrients, you lose electrolytes, you lose water. So now, if the water is not replaced, you become dehydrated. I mean, what it means is that the water in your body then falls down below certain level, which becomes a problem for the body. This can have effect on the cardiovascular system, the pumping of your heart. It has effect on the kidney function, and even your mood and emotion. And then, of course, with the heat, you are prone to rashes, okay? Because, the heat rash and infection thereof can be additional problem. So you also observe that people that experience heat, they cannot actually do work as they ought to do it. They have labile mood. Their mood just swing anyhow. They get angry easily, and they are prone to rash decisions, So apart from the thing having effect on the body, it has effect on the productivity of the person and even the productivity of the country or the city as a whole. If you're not an adult worker, stay under shade, okay? Trees, houses, bus stops, that's where you can stay. Always take sufficient fluid, okay, along.
Philip Japo is a climate change expert. He calls on the government to take action against gas emission, bush burning, car exhaustion, and other human activities that pollute the earth.
If we move away from those things, start looking at, like I said earlier, the mass transit, trains that will take people a long distance, like the government is doing, but we don't see too much commitment, like Lagos State is trying to do, but it's neither here nor there. If we have that nationally, so that I don't need to drive my car every morning or evening, and then I have to enter the train or the metro that will take not just me, but many other people. I think those little contributions added to, for instance, planting more trees, because in the city, Lagos is concrete jungle, just like Warri is, just like Port Harcourt is, just like Abuja is. Abuja is very beautiful, that's what everybody says, but Abuja, like Lagos, is a concrete jungle. There are no trees anywhere. These trees will assimilate as much as we put into the atmosphere and then cool the atmosphere. But, this is Lagos. That's Abuja. That's Warri, Kaduna. Most parts of the country, you don't have the green cover that will, ameliorate what we are passing through. When you go out there in the sun, there's no shade. So you take all the dangerous rays coming from the sun and no protection.
According to the UN Climate Science Panel, the world needs to rapidly accelerate its transition away from coal and other fossil fuels to avoid extreme climate change. However, Nigeria has pledged to reduce its greenhouse gas emission by 20% by 2030, with the condition of 45% of international support. Ngozika Ohaichesi, Plus TV News.
Chairman of the Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria, Lateef Olawumi, has warned Nigerians not to neglect the spread of COVID-19 despite measures by the federal government to ease its spread. He made the statement while speaking with journalists on the occasion of the Biomedical Laboratory Science Day, which was with the purpose of promoting and celebrating the important role of biomedical laboratory scientists in diagnostic, treatment, research, quality development and assurance, disease surveillance and preventive healthcare systems.
We are not safe yet. We are not out of the woods yet. We still have a long way to go. And sincerely, if we don't have a treatment for COVID-19, vaccine for COVID-19, we cannot say we are free yet. We still have to develop a lot of things for us to be safe from COVID-19. What actually brought a bit of relief to the way we are handling COVID-19 before was the war in Ukraine. But as the war is ravaging Ukraine, we also learned that there is a rise, very, very sharp rise in the number of people that are testing positive to COVID-19 in China.
Lagosians are unhappy that no work has commenced on the Eko Bridge weeks after a fire incident burnt goods worth several millions of naira and caused serious damage, forcing motorists to use the alternative routes. That's on Street Views.
We have a government in this country. You have leaders. They don't care for us. They don't care for us. They're just doing anything. The bridge affects us so much. Let the government open the bridge.
They should fix it now so that we won't have this stress when driving. We are praying that someone should please do it for us.
As you can see, it's affecting everybody. So that you can't visit everywhere in abroad now. 2 hours they've done it. So Nigeria government should move fast.
It's affecting us every day. Like what we are passing through here every day. Sometimes we spend more than 1 hour before we can go through the traffic. It's affecting us. We are begging government to just help us fix it.
Fix it quick now. Now the bridge all of us they use. If you know bridge, no us. Make it feed us, make all of us seafood to feed for our family.
We spend 2-3 hours. Like on Monday, we spend 5 hours. 5 hours of hold up. It is stopped every day. Not only one, it stops every day. It's very, very critical. It's stopping every day. Please let them know, let them help us know what they will do there. I beg. It's affecting us very well. In our buses, they keep complaining every day. You understand? One woman delivered a child last week inside the traffic last week.
Still ahead, floods rage on in South Africa. Details when we return.
Creative Industry Power presents one event, 4 locations, 7 days, 10 countries, 168 hours of fun in the city of Lagos. It's the Creative Industry Festival, C-Fest, from the 1st of May to the 7th of May, 2022. Get ready to rock and be rocked the creative way. For more details, visit www.festival.creativeindustrygroup.ng.com. For advert bookings and exhibition stands, call 0913-569-9010. Maximum security guaranteed. C-Fest 2022. Powered by Creative Industry Power. Supported by PlusTvAfrica.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games, Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Welcome back to News Now on Plus TV Africa. The governor of the Central Bank of West African States, Bikao, Tiamoko Kone, has been appointed Vice President of Côte d'Ivoire by President Alassane Ouattara today. Ouattara further reappointed Patrick Achi to his premier post. Mr. Kone, who had headed the Bikao since 2011, is also an economist and a well-known technocrat. The position of vice president has been vacant since Daniel Kablan Duncan resigned on July 8, 2020, the day Prime Minister Amadou Gon Coulibaly died. Helicopters and sniffer dogs joined search and rescue teams on the ground looking for bodies after heavy rains caused flooding close to Durban in South Africa today. The body of a young girl was recovered and airlifted from the Mzinyathi River in KwaZulu-Natal province. More than 440 people have died in floods and mudslides, and dozens more remain missing. A week after the torrential rains began, the South African National Defence Force has sent thousands of soldiers to help with relief efforts, including mop-up work and transporting aid. The SANDF is also providing medical support and helicopters for rescue and reconnaissance missions. 2 soldiers have shot dead 15 people in separate attacks in the east of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The victims were almost all civilians. This comes after 6 people were wounded when soldiers threw a grenade into a crowd while trying to carry out an arrest. An official in South Kivu province said a drunk soldier on a boat on Lake Tanganyika killed 8 passengers, including children, before he was arrested. The inaugural trial of a court established to prosecute war crimes in Central African Republic's drawn-out conflict was postponed on its first day today when lawyers for defendants boycotted proceedings. The trial is related to the massacre of 46 civilians in the northern villages of Kongili and Lemona in May 2019. Killings, prosecutors say, were carried out by the 3R rebel group. The case is being heard in the Special Criminal Court, which was set up in 2015 to try crimes committed in wartime. Dozens of young Ethiopian men continue to gather at the Russian embassy in the capital Addis Ababa today, following rumors of soldiers being recruited to fight in the war in Ukraine. But the embassy spokeswoman, Maria Chonukina, said no recruitment was being carried out in Ethiopia. She said the crowd was showing solidarity with Russia. Agricultural workers in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia are preparing for their most severe drought in 40 years. Authorities hint that higher temperatures and less than normal rainfall were recorded by weather agencies in March and April of this year. The aggravating drought is threatening to throw the population, especially in arid and semi-arid areas, into starvation. Like most of Africa, the east of the Horn's economic mainstay is agriculture, which is rain-fed, making it vulnerable to extreme weather events.
Agricultural workers in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia are preparing for their most severe drought in 40 years. This occurs as authorities warn that higher temperatures and less than normal rainfall were recorded by weather agencies in March and April this year. The aggravating drought is threatening to throw the population, especially in arid and semi-arid areas, into starvation.
Approximately, we have 29 million people are facing high level of food insecurity, according to the latest expert estimates. Already 15.5 to to 16 million of our sisters and brothers are in need of immediate food assistance due to this drought.
Drought and famine issues have become synonymous in the region, and approximately 1.4 million children under the age of 5 in the Horn of Africa are vulnerable to acute malnutrition.
This drought is the worst drought that we have seen for the last 20 years. It affected the whole community, especially children, especially the under 5 children. So we are getting here a lot of malnourished children, more than the children that we have seen 6 months ago. The number of admissions have increased from 5 patients per day to 15 patients per day.
Failure to deal with the issue of food security now will lead to more loss of lives in the future because of the same reason, drought.
At least 4 people were killed and 16 others wounded today in missile strikes in Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, officials have revealed. Bodies of people apparently killed by shrapnel could be seen outside apartment blocks around the city, several of which were damaged in the attack. There was no immediate confirmation of overall casualty numbers. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba today called on Bulgarians to disassociate the positive role Russia had in the country's history from Moscow's actions in Ukraine. Speaking in Sofia following a meeting with Bulgaria's Foreign Minister Teodora Genchovska, Kuleba said the Russia of today is different. Bulgaria, Moscow's closest ally during the Cold War, but now a member of the European Union and NATO, has condemned Russia's invasion of its Ukrainian neighbor.
I'm aware about the role of Russia in history of Bulgaria, and you may be aware about the role of Russia in our history. It is true to say that historically Russia did some things which still live as a sentiment in the minds of the people. But Russia we are dealing with today is different. This Russia destroys, kills, tortures, rapes. This is not the Russia. This is not Russia that deserves sympathy and understanding.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres today called for a 4-day Orthodox Easter humanitarian pause in fighting in Ukraine. This would allow for the safe passage of civilians to leave areas of conflict and the delivery of humanitarian aid to hard-hit areas. Guterres said the United Nations was submitting detailed plans to the parties and was ready to send humanitarian aid convoys to Mariupol, Kherson, Donetsk and Luhansk beginning on Holy Thursday and running through Sunday.
Today, I'm calling for a 4-day Holy Week humanitarian pause beginning on Holy Thursday to allow for the opening of a series of humanitarian corridors. The humanitarian pause would provide the necessary conditions to meet 2 crucial imperatives. First, safe passage of all civilians willing to leave the areas of current and expected confrontation in coordination with the International Committee of the Red Cross. Second, beyond humanitarian operations already taking place, a pause will allow for the safe delivery of life-saving humanitarian aid to people in the hardest hit areas such as Mariupol, Kherson, Donetsk and Luhansk. Humanitarian needs are dire. People do not have food, water, supplies to treat the sick or wounded, or simply to live day to day. More than 12 million people need humanitarian assistance in Ukraine today, and of those, more than 1/3 are in Mariupol, Kherson, Donetsk and Luhansk. We anticipate that this figure will increase to 15.7 million. That's about 40% of all Ukrainians still left in the country.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson today apologized to Parliament for breaking COVID rules with a gathering on his birthday after he was fined by the police last week. Johnson and Finance Minister Rishi Sunak were fined while Parliament was on Easter recess. Lawmakers will hold a vote on Thursday on whether Johnson should be investigated over claims he misled Parliament by repeatedly saying he had followed COVID rules.
Let me begin in all humility by saying that on the 12th of April, I received a fixed penalty notice relating to an event in Downing Street on the 19th of June 2020. I paid the fine immediately, and I offered the British people a full apology. And I take this opportunity on the first available sitting day to repeat my wholehearted apology to the House. Let me also say, not by way of mitigation or excuse, but purely because it explains my previous words in this House, that it did not occur to me then or subsequently that a gathering in the Cabinet room just before a vital meeting on COVID strategy could amount to a breach of the rules.
What a joke. Even now, as the latest mealy-mouthed apology stumbles out of one side of his mouth, a new set of deflections and distortions pour from the other. But the damage is all. Put their conscience first. Put their country first. Put John Robinson first. And remove the Prime Minister from office. Yes. Bring decency, honesty and integrity back into our politics. And stop the denigration of everything that this country stands for.
Up next, imported vehicles dealers threaten shutdown over 15% levy. Well, that's in business news after this short break.
And in business news, as controversy continues to surround the introduction of 15% National Automobile Commission levy imposed on imported used vehicles by the Nigerian Customs Service, car dealers have threatened to close their stores this week. The NCS had recently introduced a 15% National Automobile Commission levy on used imported vehicles, a decision which didn't go down well with clearing agents in the country's maritime sector. The agents argued that the NAC levy is mostly meant for new vehicles, questioning the rationale behind the introduction of the duty on used vehicles. In a quick response, the service, in a statement by the National Public Relations Officer, Timi Bomodi, said the move was in compliance with the Economic Community of West Africa Common External Tariff. Oil prices rose on Tuesday as investors fretted over tight global supply after Libya was forced to halt some exports and as factories in Shanghai prepared to reopen post-COVID-19 shutdown, easing some demand worries. Brent crude futures rose 61 cents or 0.5% to $103.77 a barrel at 349 GMT, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate WTI crude futures gained 33 cents or 0.3% to $108.54 a barrel. Gains were limited with the dollars trading at a fresh 2-year high. A stronger dollar haunts oil buyers holding other currencies. Both benchmark contracts gained more than 1% in the previous session after hitting their highest since March 28 on political crisis in Libya. OPEC Plus has produced 1.45 million barrels per day, below its production target in March, as Russian output began to decline following sanctions imposed by the West. The report showed that Russia produced about 300,000 barrels per day below its target in March at 10.0 million barrels per day based on secondary sources. Compliance with the production cuts rose to 157% in March from 132% in February. The data showed the highest since the group introduced record production cuts of about 10 million barrels per day in May 2020 to counter the impact of the pandemic on demand. OPEC Plus, which groups OPEC and allies led by Russia, agreed last month to another modest monthly oil output boost of 432,000 barrels per day for May, resisting pressure by major consumers for pump more. The yellow metal gold is down towards the end of the Asian trading section on Tuesday after hitting the $2,000 mark during the previous New York's section. The decline was as a result of the dollar index, which was trading near a two-year high and entered the safe haven yellow metal appeal. Gold futures is down 0.50%, currently trading $1,977.10 an ounce as of the time of this writing, after climbing to $1,998.10 on Monday as the war in Ukraine continues and inflation concerns mount. But gold gave up most of the Monday's gains as the dollars and U.S. 10-year Treasury yields firmed. European stocks were down on Tuesday as yields on U.S. 10-year inflation-linked bonds were poised to turn positive for the first time in 2 years on the prospect of aggressive Fed tightening to contain inflation, keeping investors on edge. Investors were also bracing for the next barrage of earnings that will help them gauge the impact of war in Ukraine and a spike in inflation on corporate finance. Heineken, Nestle, and Renault all left Europe this week. Netflix, Tesla, and Johnson & Johnson are all expected to report this week from the U.S. Yields on U.S. 10-year inflation-linked bonds have held near the two-year high they hit on Monday and are poised to turn positive for the first time since the pandemic began. Equity investors had been reassured that, having wiped out the effect of inflation, bond yields were deep in negative territory, but that seems about to be over. And that's all in business news. I am Jacinta Obiuku.
The very best in entertainment news is next.
Britney Spears is about to go back to court on May 3rd. The singer was pulled over by the highway patrol and stopped with a speeding ticket after she drove at unsafe speed in California. According to the court documents, the pop star was busted by the cops for driving at an unsafe speed for prevailing conditions. The ticket was issued on March 10th. This will be her first time in a courtroom after winning a conservatorship battle in November last year. Mac Miller's drug dealer has been sentenced to nearly 11 years in prison. Ryan Michael Rivers, one of the three men charged for supplying fentanyl-laced pills to the rapper leading to his fatal overdose, will be spending 10 years and 11 months behind bars. The sentence is more than twice longer than what Ryan sought after he pleaded guilty to one felony count on distributing fentanyl, but shorter than what state prosecutors asked. The 39-year-old himself asked for a 5-year sentence, claiming he was just a middleman and had no idea the pills he helped distribute were laced. Meanwhile, prosecutors requested the sentence to be 12.5 years before the judge ended one of the sentences. Mac's mother, Karen, Mayers addressed the court. Karen insisted it would never knowingly take a pill with fentanyl, ever. He wanted to leave and was excited about the future. She added about how the loss of a son was greatly affected her. Nigerian singer Rema has reacted to an open invitation by Bowen University, where the institution assured the artist that joining Bowen will save him from the Academic Staff Union of University strike. The singer had earlier pleaded with ASU to call off its ongoing strike, tweeting that since its admission into the University of Lagos, he is yet to commence his studies. However, Bowen University replied the singer's tweet, saying Rema won't be delayed by ASU strike if he joined a private institution. Responding to Bowen's open invitation, Rema described the institution as Unilag Private University. He said he was fascinated by the school's approach. ASU declared a 4-week warning strike on February 14th and thereafter extended the action by 8 weeks in March.
And up next is sports news.
Hello and welcome to Sports News on PlusTvAfrica. The League Management Council, LMC, have confirmed that Kano Pillars have been punished for failure to provide adequate security for their home game against Katsina United at Kano's Sani Abacha Stadium, which resulted in their fans invading the pitch and attacking Katsina United players, destroying the team's bus in the process. A fine of 1 million naira has been imposed for the throwing of objects onto the pitch by Pillars supporters, as well as a fine of 5 million naira for encroachment of the pitch by the supporters, leading to the discontinuation of the match. The failure to provide adequate security has also incurred a fine of 1 million naira for Pillars, and they will pay another 1 million naira fine for allowing unauthorized persons to access restricted areas, with a further fine of 1 million naira for the unsporting behavior of their supporters. Kano Pillars have also been held responsible for the repair and replacement of the damaged bus of Katsina United, as well as certified belongings of players and officials of the away team damaged or lost in the bus. The club supporters have also been given an indefinite suspension from league matches. Now, Steph Curry may have started on the bench and played less than 23 minutes total, but that didn't stop him from dominating Game 2 of the Golden State Warriors playoff series against the Denver Nuggets. Curry, who is nearing full fitness after suffering an ankle injury last month, drained 34 points as the Warriors easily defeated the Denver Nuggets 126-106 to take a 2-game lead in their first-round matchup. Nikola Jokic scored 26 points and grabbed 11 rebounds, but the giant Serbian received little assistance from his teammates and was ejected late in the game for arguing with officials. On Thursday, the teams will travel to the Ball Arena in Colorado for Game 3.
That his game improved a great deal.
Jokic has backs Curry down and scored for more. We're keeping an eye on Austin Rivers. They're still tending to him on that bench as Cousins knocks down Green. Poole behind the back, and the layup is good by Thompson. Another dime by Jordan Poole.
Into the lane and then bring him off the screen on the other side.
Curry all the way, the steal and the layup, and a shimmy under the... Klay Thompson's got 18 points. He's scored 8 of those in this third quarter. Curry, well, he's fouled. Down it goes!
Than even I am with their offense.
The hardest working guys he's ever seen. He's really developed his game. Look at that pass. I mean, it's like the Globetrotters out here. Jordan Poole.
Now, Derby County manager Wayne Rooney was seen giving an emotional speech following his team's relegation to English football's third tier. Rooney thanked the fans for their belief in his team and promised to help them in return. Rooney was tasked with keeping the Rams in the championship after they were docked 21 points for financial irregularities. Derby County will play in the third tier for the first time since 1986 next season.
The players, obviously, there's talent staff. There's a lot more staff who work and tired who aren't here with us. We're grateful for the support you have shown us all season. It's been fucking tough, been hard, difficult moments for us, for you especially. It's been very tough, but we've tried our best. We've given everything we can. It's unfortunate we've been relegated, but now we'll plan to make sure this club comes back to.
And that's all the sports news we have for you for now. Join us next time. My name is Mikhail Tinubu. Have a good night.
And the main news again. 2 pilots died today in Kaduna in NAF aircraft crash. Minister of Labour Chris Ngige has also joined the 2023 presidential race. And Chrisland's head teacher, parents with others have reported to State CID Panti in connection to the 10-year-old student's viral sex tape. And that's the news now. For more stories, please follow us on our social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Maureen Menong-Wezigwe. Many thanks for watching.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from PlusTvAfrica.
Yes, sure. You know what time it is. It's time for some tea. It's time to spill, and it's time to talk about all your favorite entertainment topics. Of course, you know how we do it on this show. We'll be dissecting, analyzing, and of course, having dope conversations on each and every one of them. And then, of course, you guys know that I'm never going to be here alone. Come on, I never come alone. Don't leave me. Elile, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm good.
Great to have you in the building again. Good to see you.
As always, how are you? Why am I asking? You're always fine. You're always jiggy. You're always,
so then they think, I better go push my helper.
I know they think anything. You know that I know.
But
our helper, please don't leave us,
Yeah, don't leave us, so please. And of course, you guys can join the conversation by calling in on 0909-8408-8408 to share your opinions on trending discussions. And of course, man, my guy, what did you do last night? Just talk to me.
I was sleeping. What should I be doing at night if not sleeping?
I don't know. You tell me. Are you sure?
I was sleeping, yeah.
Alrighty.
I barely slept, in all honesty, but I was just
Yeah,
we're
on the same page on that one. Anyways, let's show you the first trend.
Believe Ife at your own detriment. Let's see the first trend.
No, but no, on the view, I didn't sleep either.
Is this? Let's go on. Let's
go look my skin, they judge me. I never sleep, guy. Anyways, let's see the first trend video real quick and we'll be right back. Okay, so the funny thing is, right, you know when the woman licked her fingers and everybody went, she had this disgust on her face, like, no, she had this disgust, like, what are you doing? Why are you people licking your fingers?
Now, this just reminds me of how I used to annoy my younger brother with stuff like this. Well, what I used to do is, when he says something, I'll say the same thing, like, he says another thing, I will say the same thing, and he used to find it very, he used to find it very, very annoying, and it was just so fun.
Because
I can imagine how much fun
you know what I used to do to my siblings? So me now, if you just go spank mom's leg, oh yeah, go try him now. Me, I'm the last born now. Mom says, can you beat me? But you try it if you can.
Just imagine. But they seem to be having so much fun. I wish I was there. I like being annoying sometimes.
Pranks in Nigeria, we've seen, we have a few of them. We have Z Fancy, we have, who else? There's this comedian, Mr. Aena, and
There's
all of
this
that.
other guy that drags ladies' wigs. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. And the guy that does the running without pain prank.
I like that guy.
I feel like, see, some of these pranks are very, very dangerous. Like, they will beat
because
you.
Nigerians do not have patience. We do not want to see what's happening.
Can you remember the one we saw last week where they did? They are coming, Who is coming? See, there was one old man that was running with his food.
We don't need to hear. We don't need to see anything happening. Once I just see a group of people running, automatically I'm sharpening my legs to start running.
I don't move that way.
Hey,
don't make me
in this
move
Nigeria, I'm moving that way, bro. I'm moving that way. See,
I know they run.
I schooled in Benin, so